when the apocalypse began. This guy was smashing monsters left and right, but it turned out to be useless because he was stabbed in the back by his rat allies and left to die alone. Luckily, in the next moment, the boss yells right in his face that Lin Luo is fired and tells him to get out, but our guy couldn't care less because he knows that his talent awakening is about to begin, and he already has a plan for ruthless revenge. Lin Luo goes to the restroom and in the most appropriate place imaginable, awakens his plunder talent, which allows him to steal 1% of a random attribute, skill effect, or talent effect from a target upon killing it. Just in time he spots his boss walking by. Our boy waits for the perfect moment and lunges at Wang Jiuchao, who has also just awakened an S-rank talent. Lin Luo expertly chokes him out, and not even his S-rank talent can save him. Our boy immediately levels up his skill, and now, instead of stealing just 1% of attributes or talents, he can steal everything at once. Our boy immediately levels up his skill. It allows him to steal Wang Jiuchao's entire set of skills and summon a huge dark knight called the Black Emperor. Its stats are incredibly strong, but it has a few noticeable weaknesses, wisdom being one of them. This forces Lin Luo to use his entire consciousness to make it work. Still, he is happy with what he got. With a simple command, Lin Luo ordered Black Emperor to handle Wang Jiuchao's corpse, leaving the deceased former supervisor behind in the toilet. Lin Luo remained entirely unbothered, knowing that even if authorities managed to trace the matter back to him, it would take at least a month, and by then, he would already be completely invincible. Stepping outside, Lin Luo checked his phone and noticed that his normally quiet finance department class group chat had become incredibly lively as everyone discussed their newly awakened talents. One specific message caught his attention from a classmate named Lu Ming. In his past life, Lu Ming had awakened a power that eventually allowed him to rise to prominence alongside the class flower, Fang Mingchu. Later on, Lu Ming used many innocent people and supervisors for unknown means, eventually joining an evil organization known as Smiling Coffin. Resolving to make Hang City a better place, Lin Luo decided to target Lu Ming next and plunder his abilities before he could cause harm. Meanwhile, inside a room at the Tomato Hotel on Pingxing Road, Lu Ming, a heavy-set young man, was celebrating. He was ecstatic that his newly summoned substitute, Lord of Wish, could satisfy his deepest desires. He is a degenerate superfan who immediately made a wish to possess the body and mind of his goddess, Fang Mingchu. The substitute readily complied, confirming that its master's wish had been fulfilled. Thrilled by the immediate success, Lu Ming contacted his goddess over text to discuss his awakened talents face-to-face. The degenerate superfan also asks her to wear obscene clothing. As he celebrates his win, Lin Luo contacts him, claiming he had discovered a massive secret regarding S-rank substitutes that would highly benefit him. Lu Ming eagerly reveals his location, that he was waiting in room 414, and urged him to arrive quickly. 5 minutes later, Lin Luo arrived at the hotel room, using the guise of sharing the S-rank secret to gain entry. Lu Ming, eager to wrap things up quickly because of his upcoming date, impatiently demanded that Lin Luo spill the secret. Lin Luo leaned in close, pretended to whisper the true secret of an S-rank talent, only to sneak attack the degenerate superfan with the Black Emperor. Before Lu Ming could comprehend the situation, Black Emperor instantly strikes down the unsuspecting target. With the target eliminated, Lin Luo's plunder talent activated, presenting him with options to steal the target's attributes, talent effect, skill effect, or spirit soul power. Lin Luo analyzed the situation carefully, noting that since the target was still a normal person who had not yet entered a dungeon for a profession change, he possessed no active skills. Furthermore, while spirit soul power could be used to increase general rank, a basic soul was not nearly enough to upgrade an already advanced S-rank ability. Concluding that plundering the physical talent itself would be far more useful, Lin Luo initiated the transfer. The system confirmed a successful harvest, granting Lin Luo the S-rank talent known as Book of Wishes. This versatile ability allowed him to cycle through 3 highly effective forms: a combat form that doubled experience gained from killing monsters while enhancing battle accuracy and critical rates, a defensive iron wall form that boosted dodge rates by 20% while completely offsetting any incoming attack once every 10 minutes, and a utility form that amplified his baseline luck 10 times over. Each form has a 5 minutes cooldown. Impressive for its balance of offense, defense, and utility, Lin Luo immediately called forth his newly acquired asset. The manifestation, identifying itself as Lord of Wish, materialized in golden armor and knelt before him, pledging total obedience to its great master. Unlike its previous state under a lesser master, the system revealed the substitute's true, terrifying baseline stats, boasting exceptional attributes including an extensive pool of health points and a massive wisdom score of 180. Armed with 2 distinct S-rank substitutes, Lin Luo stood fully prepared to reshape the future. Lin Luo engaged in a conversation with his newly acquired substitute, asking if the entity possessed the ability to speak. The entity confirmed that he was a highly functional unit, whose role far exceeded that of a standard combat-oriented substitute. He explained that any desire could be fulfilled through the Book of Wishes held in his hands. Identified by the system as the S-rank Lord of Prayer, the substitute displayed impressive attributes, highlighted by an immense intelligence score of 180. He clarified that while simpler wishes incurred a minor energy cost, highly complex requests required far greater consumption. He even warned that an excessively difficult wish could result in his permanent collapse. Furthermore, his towering intelligence allowed him to actively assist Lin Luo with strategic planning and tactical oversight. Testing the Lord of Prayer's analytical capabilities, Lin Luo inquired how they could utilize these wish-granting powers with maximum efficiency. The Lord of Prayer immediately understood the objective, explaining that gathering valuable information consumed very little energy. Therefore, instead of wishing for actual treasure to materialize out of nothing, it was infinitely more efficient to simply ask for the exact location of hidden treasure. He added that high feasibility wishes kept consumption low, whereas creating an object from thin air demanded a massive toll. For instance, manipulating probability to win a lottery jackpot would consume far less energy than physically creating a basic bottle of water out of nothing. If used directly on a person, the energy cost fluctuated based on that individual's willpower and baseline strength. Curious about these operational limits, Lin Luo asked how much energy would be required to break a specific high-profile individual out of prison. The substitute calculated the parameters, noting that such a difficult task would completely deplete his energy reserves and trigger a prolonged period of total inactivity. Additionally, due to the immense scale of the request, the power would likely only expedite the legal release process rather than granting an immediate magical escape. Lin Luo realized that wishes required strict logical framing to be properly fulfilled. He concluded that his best course of action was using the substitute to extract critical data regarding other prominent S-rank powerhouses scattered across the region. As Black Emperor smoothly finished wrapping up the cleanup from the previous confrontation, Lin Luo noticed a striking detail on the combat substitute that had previously escaped his attention. Embedded directly into Black Emperor's chest was a distinct clock face featuring only a single moving hand. Intrigued, Lin Luo questioned the Lord of Prayer about whether a substitute's physical appearance directly mirrored the specific core abilities of its user. The substitute confirmed this theory, stating that an appearance is always intimately tied to the user's inherent skills and spiritual essence. This left Lin Luo deeply reflective, as Black Emperor possessed absolutely no time-related attributes, causing him to wonder if the bizarre clock design was a direct, physical manifestation of his own miraculous rebirth. Deciding not to stress over mysteries he could not yet solve, he dismissed the thought for the time being. With his talent cooldowns working in his favor, Lin Luo focused on his immediate future, preparing to venture out to conquer local dungeons and secure hidden realms. Back inside the hotel room, the automated systems took effect, resetting the space. Standing at the front desk, Lin Luo paid to renew room 414 for an additional 7 days, explicitly instructing the receptionist to bar anyone, including the housekeeping staff, from entering the room to ensure the scene remained undisturbed. Meanwhile, across Hangzhou City, an influential figure named Yu Taijie sat in a high-rise corporate office, questioning his own majestic substitute, the Lord of Time. Yu Taijie demanded to know why the white clock hand on the substitute's body had vanished, and why their planned temporal crossover had deposited them a full week later than originally calculated. The Lord of Time explained that during their journey through time travel, a portion of its power had been forcefully stolen by an unknown entity, causing the massive calculation error in their arrival date. Slamming his fist in frustration, Yu Taijie grew enraged that an unexpected variable had disrupted his plans. Despite the immense cost he paid to initiate the jump, Yu Taijie had originally awakened the exceptionally rare, SSS-level time-space travel talent right at the dawn of the global awakening. Relying heavily on this supreme power, he had successfully fought his way to becoming one of the celebrated guardians of Huaxia, defeating every opponent in his path. However, his dominance came to a crushing halt when he encountered an overwhelming, terrifying force known as the Illogical Clan. Effortlessly defeated and left in complete despair, Yu Taijie had been forced to venture alone into a spatial rift, pouring every ounce of his remaining strength into activating a desperate time travel escape. The extreme escape had completely broken his substitute, dropping the Lord of Time's energy limit from a staggering 4,000 down to a measly 40. While he managed to escape with his life, his goal of returning a week prior to the mass awakening failed, leaving him stranded in the hours following the event, entirely stripped of his substitute's second hand. Interrupting his thoughts, the Lord of Time suddenly sensed a familiar resonance, reporting that she could detect the exact location of the missing second-hand power. She confirmed the stolen energy was currently residing within someone else inside Hangzhou City. Yu Taijie questioned how her power could have possibly ended up in another person's hands, and the substitute clarified that the individual had actively and forcefully plundered it during the time transit. When asked if they should launch an immediate counterattack to reclaim the energy, Yu Taijie exercised caution, realizing that anyone capable of ripping away an SSS-level power must be an incredibly formidable adversary, and knowing his own substitute was severely weakened and unsuited for direct combat, he chose to delay the confrontation. After verifying that the thief was definitely a human and not a member of the dreaded illogical clan, Yu Taijie decided to shift his focus toward raiding local dungeons to systematically rebuild his strength and track down his former teammates. Vowing absolute vengeance, he resolved to eventually hunt down and crush the thief who dared to steal his property. Unaware of the powerful enemy plotting in the shadows, Lin Luo arrived at the glowing, swirling vortex of a newly spawned local dungeon. A security guard stationed at the perimeter directed the gathering crowd, warning everyone to enter with extreme caution and strongly advising them to form balanced, 5-person teams before stepping inside. The surrounding citizens viewed the phenomenon with naive excitement, treating the historic event like a trendy social media opportunity, completely oblivious to the real dangers of the changing world. While the crowd hesitated at the entrance, waiting around for someone else to step forward and test the waters, Lin Luo walked past them without a moment's notice. The onlookers marveled at his solo bravery, filming him as he calmly approached the glowing rift. Looking at the swirling portal, Lin Luo recalled his past timeline, remembering this specific dungeon as an absolute nightmare that he had been forced to run away from in his previous life. Smiling with absolute confidence, he stepped through the threshold, ready to completely crush the trial under his feet in this new life. Upon entering the dungeon's secret realm, Lin Luo felt his body undergoing digitization and backup. The system notification promptly outlined the ground rules of the instance, warning him that while any damage received inside would fully recover upon exiting, dying would result in immediate resurrection outside the realm. Crucially, he was restricted to a total of 3 lives, meaning a third death would permanently bar him from resurrecting. The system then prompted him to select one of 6 basic baseline professions: mage, archer, warrior, shield bearer, assassin, or priest. In his previous life, Lin Luo had mistakenly chosen the warrior path, an entirely average option that yielded slow progression prior to reaching the level 22nd advancement threshold. Now equipped with 2 devastating S-rank talents, he recognized the necessity of pairing them with a far superior profession to secure an easier life. Seeking an analytical perspective, Lin Luo consulted the Lord of Prayer for recommendations regarding his profession change. The substitute strongly advocated for the mage path. He explained that upon reaching level 20, the influence of Lin Luo's S-level talents would allow him to guide Lin Luo's progression directly into a rare hidden class known as the Prophet Mage. The entity added that the defensive capabilities and raw power of Black Emperor would seamlessly offset the typical close combat vulnerability associated with standard mages. While acknowledging that S-level talents could unlock elite hidden advancements, Lin Luo grew deeply suspicious. He felt that the Lord of Prayer was harboring hidden agendas or ulterior motives. Probing further, he questioned what specific hidden profession would materialize if he chose the mage path, but insisted on using plunder as his guiding core during his second advancement. The substitute openly discouraged this, explaining that forcing a plunder focus would result in a highly unconventional suboptimal melee mage archetype. The entity's defensive advising solidified Lin Luo's skepticism. He reminded himself that everything in his strategic arsenal must revolve strictly around maximizing his innate plunder talent, with Black Emperor serving as his absolute primary combat asset. Recognizing that Black Emperor possessed maximized baseline strength and agility, Lin Luo concluded that an agile-based profession was a far superior match. He then asked the entity what hidden profession would emerge if he instead opted to become an assassin while maintaining plunder as his second advancement path. Caught off guard, the substitute admitted it was highly probable he would become a rogue outlaw, a specialized class designed to maximize the specific operational advantages of plundering. Despite the substitute making a final plea for the elegance and relaxed nature of the Prophet Mage path, Lin Luo ignored the distraction and officially locked in his choice to become an assassin. With the selection finalized, the system generated his baseline level 1 attribute panel, mapping out his starting health and mana points based on his initial constitution and spirit scores. His newly formed assassin toolkit provided 2 active skills, Shadow Hunt, which enabled him to instantly blink behind an enemy to unleash a high-damage physical strike, and Phantom Strike, a powerful blow designed to knock targets back. His passives included Agility level 1 to reduce stamina consumption while moving or fighting, Quick Reflexes to heighten combat vision, and Strong Strike to marginally increase his critical strike chance. Armed with a basic novice short blade that provided a minor attack boost, Lin Luo smiled, confident that assassins in close combat substitutes formed the absolute deadliest combination in the entire world. When the system prompted him to select the total number of players for the dungeon exploration, wrapping the group limit at 5, Lin Luo confidently locked it in as a solo instance. He knew that conquering single-player dungeons yielded vastly superior ratings and far better loot rewards. Given that Black Emperor's combat power was already equivalent to an elite level 20 to 30 boss monster, pairing up with weak teammates for low-level dungeons was completely unnecessary. Furthermore, he picked the Nightmare difficulty, which is supposedly for adventurers of level 5 to 10. The system warned him as he is only at level 1, but Lin Luo confidently made his decision. Stepping forward into the heart of the dungeon, Lin Luo encountered a gathering horde of monstrous green goblins waiting to ambush him. Activating his S-rank utility talent, he cycled the Book of Wishes into its combat form, wishing for hundreds of victories to immediately enhance his battle accuracy, critical rate, and experience gains. In a flash of dark energy, he summoned Black Emperor directly onto the battlefield, commanding it to utterly destroy the incoming forces. The armored substitute lunged forward without hesitation, raining down a barrage of brutal, earth-shattering punches that completely overwhelmed the monsters, setting a dominant tone for Lin Luo's very first dungeon conquest. The overwhelming ability of the Black Emperor, coupled with the boosts from the Lord of Prayers, and the increased difficulty granted Lin Luo experience points 700% times more than normal. The crazy exploit immediately shot him up to level 6. Lin Luo decides to stop his assault on the goblins as Seize by Force can only be used 7 more times, and wasting it on these weak mobs is not worth it. The system prompts him to allocate his points, for attribute points across 5 categories, and 2 skill points across 5, but he doesn't just dump them randomly, he thinks it through. As an assassin class, his weapons can be enhanced with poison, and after the second transformation, agility directly converts into attack power. The math is simple, more agility means more damage. He goes all in, 16 points poured into agility, 4 into strength, and 10 levels stacked onto the agility skill, Swift. The result is immediate. Swift hits level 11, granting an additional 15 points of agility on top of everything else, and crucially, it slashes stamina consumption by 40% during both movement and combat. That last part matters more than it might seem. He reflects on knowledge from his previous life, where players discovered too late that dungeons could stretch for thousands of kilometers, and demanded relentless fighting the entire way through. Stamina wasn't just a resource, it was a survival ceiling. Professions that ignored it became dead weight. Swift, by cutting that cost nearly in half, is the most efficient investment he can make. No wasted stats, no dead ends. With his build locked in, he pushes deeper into the dungeon, and the enemies stop being jokes. Level 6 Wolfskin, Level 7 Stone-Throwing Goblins, Level 8 Frost Goblins. The opposition is scaling up with every room, but compared to the raw destructive force of the Black Emperor, they barely register. He doesn't bother collecting loot manually. He already knows that everything gets automatically absorbed into the treasure chest once the boss falls. The dungeon's mob roster grows nastier as he goes. Big goblins, goblin shamans, and blaze goblins join the fray. A few of the weaker ones even cry out desperately, pleading for their lives. Their fear means nothing to him. As far as he's concerned, there's only one kind of goblin worth having around, and that's a dead one. The Black Emperor tears through them all without mercy, obliterating the horde in a display of overwhelming lopsided power. Then the dungeon goes quiet. The system tallies the carnage. 83 goblins eliminated. Combined with the Heart's Desire 100 battles bonus, and the extra experience from killing higher-level monsters, he walks away with 9,700 experience points. It's enough to push him straight to level 9, with over 7,000 points already banked toward level 10. The treasure chest materializes as the boss goes down, rewards sealed inside and waiting. But before he claims them, the system offers him something extra, a wish good luck activation. He takes it without hesitation. The effect is immediate. His luck stat surges increase tenfold. 0 battle damage taken. 5 minutes from start to finish. Solo run. The scoring system breaks it all down. Base score is determined by damage taken and time spent, but it is multiplied based on the number of players and the level gap between the player and the dungeon's recommended level. The reward turns out to be a Goblin's Nest golden chest of epic rarity. Lin Luo already knew the system would deliver something special. In his previous life, he understood how chest quality worked. Under normal circumstances, even a nightmare difficulty clear of a low-level dungeon like this would only net a black iron chest at best. But with the tenfold luck boost active, the chest quality jumps up 8 subgrades, vaulting all the way to Gold Epic, a tier of loot that simply should not exist at this stage of the game. This chest is of the 4th level quality. Out of 10, the chest pours out its contents: 10 high-level health restoration potions, 8 high-level mana potions, 5 high-level stamina potions, all black iron grade. Solid utility. Here comes the equipment drops. A goblin's torn wolf skin jacket, a big goblin helmet, a frozen stick for beginners, and a goblin's longsword. Black iron and silver grade items, which Lin Luo waves off without a second thought. Garbage, by his standards. A silver grade fireball spell tumbles out too, but it's mage restricted and the quality falls short of anything worth keeping. 158 brass coins, 15 gold, and 7 silver round out the currency drops. Then the chest delivers what actually matters. 2 gold grade items, a guardian light armor, and a guardian short blade. Even with tenfold luck on his side, pulling 2 gold pieces from a single chest is genuinely remarkable. He pulls up the stats on the guardian short blade first. Gold grade, epic quality, assassin class exclusive. It grants 60 attack power, a 5% critical rate boost, 10% bonus critical damage, and a passive called sharpness that cuts straight through 10 points of enemy defense. On top of that bleed, any attack that breaks through defense triggers a continuous bleeding effect dealing 5 damage per second for 10 full seconds. Compared to a standard level 10 bronze dagger, this thing has 40 more attack power, 3 additional stat bonuses, and an entirely new damage mechanic. He recognizes it for exactly what it is, an early game artifact. The Guardian Light Armor is no less impressive. Gold grade, normal quality, and usable by all classes. It adds 25 physical defense, 23 magic defense, 200 health points, and a passive called Slick that shaves 7 points off any damage from sharp weapons. The evasion rate bonus on top seals it, armor that makes you harder to kill and harder to hit at the same time. With his new equipment secured, the system prompts him to finalize his character data and choose a name that will be visible to everyone he encounters in dungeons and secret realms going forward. He doesn't hesitate. Black Emperor. The moment the name is registered, the world reacts. A global announcement fires across every player's screen. Congratulations to the player Black Emperor for becoming the world's first solo clear champion of a nightmare-level dungeon. The reward attached to the milestone is a Fates Will 10-spin lottery ticket, one of the rarest prizes in the entire game, handed out for an achievement that no one else has managed to pull off. The public response is instant and loud. Players across the world react with disbelief and admiration, buzzing about who Black Emperor could possibly be. Elsewhere, a small group of players takes notice with far more urgency than the rest. One of them, addressed as the Lord of Time, is rattled. In the original timeline, this announcement came late at night. The fact that it has appeared ahead of schedule means the history they knew is already shifting. His companion breaks it down carefully. There are only 2 explanations. Either a Black Emperor from this world somehow seized their power and used it to clear the dungeon, or the Black Emperor traveled back in time from the future with that power already in hand. Either way, the Lord of Time's ability cannot enhance physical strength, which makes the solo clear even harder to explain. What they agree on, without question, is this: if Black Emperor's growth rate continues to outpace theirs, it will become a serious problem. They need to find him, and they need to do it fast. Back with our protagonist, none of that matters yet. What matters is what he is holding in his hands. A Fates Will 10-spin lottery ticket. In his previous life, after 3 full years of grinding, he only managed to spin the Fates Will 5 times total. He is now looking at double that, earned in a single dungeon run, before most players have even left the starting area. He summons the Lord of Wishes. The golden-robed entity appears in a swirl of purple light, golden chest in hand, radiating both power and theatricality, and declares itself delighted to serve. 10 spins on the fates wheel. Before pulling the trigger, Lin Luo does what he always does. He thinks it through first. The Lord of Wishes breaks down what the wheel can actually produce. Items span 9 grades from F all the way up to SSS, and the fates wheel is one of the only places in the entire game where certain items can even be obtained, things that simply do not drop from any dungeon. The probabilities are brutal. SSS grade sits at a fraction of a percent. SS grade is barely above that. The further down the scale you go, the more the odds stack against anything meaningful landing. Lin Luo weighs his options carefully. He could burn a wish to guarantee a specific SSS grade item, but the cost is 6 months of silence, and silence would cripple his ability to steal other people's talents, which is the core of his entire strategy. That trade is not worth it. The more sensible play is to wish for at least 1 S rank or higher items from the 10 pulls, which costs a manageable amount of energy and leaves him fully operational. He locks in the wish, and the Lord of Wishes spins the wheel. When it stops, the system tallies up 10 prizes across the grade spectrum. Most of the haul is lower grade filler that Lin Luo acknowledges and moves past without much interest. What catches his attention are 3 specific crystals: a bond crystal, a limit crystal, and a rage crystal, all tied directly to his stand. The bond crystal expands the stand's range of action. The limit crystal raises the stand's energy cap. The rage crystal allows the stand to temporarily surge its power beyond its normal ceiling. The only disappointment is that just the limit crystal landed at SS rank. The other 2 came in lower. Still, pulling all 3 in a single session is a stroke of genuine luck, and he knows it. Lin Luo then crushes the lower ranking crystals, which grants him a 4% inheritance of the dungeon upon leaving. The next order of business is the bond crystals. He gives them to the Black Emperor, who crushes them on the spot, and the stand's action range immediately extends to 6 meters, a direct and immediate upgrade to how far the Black Emperor can reach in combat. He also picks up a Heart of Energy and an Extreme Crystal, both of which are stand-use items with real value as they cannot be taken out of the dungeon. For the Heart of Energy and the Extreme Crystal, he makes a deliberate choice. Rather than holding them for himself, he hands both items to the Lord of Wishes. The reasoning is practical. Keeping the Lord of Wishes fully powered means he never has to worry about energy shortfalls during critical moments. The Lord of Wishes, predictably delighted by the decision, accepts. His energy reserves climb noticeably, and its recovery rate doubles. There is one limitation still hanging over him. Without a spatial crystal, any equipment he has on his body will not carry over when he exits the dungeon instance. Only 4% of his attribute values will transfer out. It is a constraint he cannot solve right now, and he accepts it for what it is: a problem to address in time, not one worth obsessing over in the moment. Lin Luo then steps out of the dungeon. Back in the real world, other players are filtering out of their own runs, visibly frustrated and worn down. Some are lamenting wasted resurrection attempts. Others are grumbling that the dungeon was simply too difficult. The gap between their experience and the main characters could not be more stark. Lin Luo surveys the scene with quiet certainty. Most players at this stage are simply not strong enough to compete. The current environment is exactly what he needs: a window where everyone else is still struggling to find their footing while he is already pulling further ahead. His next target is already decided: the Sky Tower. An infinite structure with no ceiling on its floors, the Sky Tower is the next major proving ground, and more importantly, it is where the achievement for the world's first clear is still up for grabs. The Sky Tower has a proper name here: the Tower of Ascension, and the moment Black Emperor steps through its entrance, the noise of the outside world hits him immediately. Players everywhere are buzzing with excitement, calling out for teammates, boasting about how far they've climbed, asking strangers to party up. The tower has a magnetic energy around it. It draws people in with the promise of progression and rewards that dungeons simply cannot match. Every 10 levels cleared for the first time anywhere in the world earns the first player to do it a Fate Wheel draw ticket. Black Emperor already knows this. He knew it before he walked through the door. When a girl approaches and offers to team up, he shuts it down without a second thought. Groups only slow him down. He is not here to carry anyone. He summons the Black Emperor and gets to work. The first level falls in 20 seconds flat. The system immediately fires off a global announcement: Black Emperor has set the world record for the fastest first level clear of the Tower of Ascension, and his name is now known to every player on the planet. He doesn't stop to appreciate it. Level 2 clears in 30 seconds. Level 3 in 40. Level 4 in 52. The global announcements keep firing one after another, each one broadcasting another broken record under the same name. By the time he reaches level 8 and clears it in 88 seconds, the wider player base is openly stunned. Every single level a solo world record, set back to back without pause. Players who have been grinding the tower for hours watch the notifications roll in and struggle to process what they are seeing. Black Emperor barely registers the reaction. His mind is already on level 10. He knows exactly what waits there. In his previous life, the first player to solo clear the 10th level was someone known as Trash Chi Pig, a name he remembers clearly. That record belongs to someone else in the timeline he came from. It will not stay that way. Before he enters, the tower issues a hard warning. Once a player steps onto the 10th floor, there is no leaving until the floor is either clear or the player is dead. No retreating, no backing out. He steps in anyway. The boss waiting for him is the Kobold Lord Ilefin, a level 10 enemy with 5,000 health points, 70 defense, and a kit built around aggression and crowd control. Its crazed cleave ability chains rapid strikes together while boosting its own attack speed. Its wild summon ability calls 10 Grawl guards into the fight at once, and if its health drops below 2,000, it shifts weapons and changes its entire attack pattern through a skill called Fury. It is, by any reasonable measure, a serious threat for a player at this stage. The Kobold Lord does not care who Black Emperor is. It launches into crazed cleave immediately, and the combination of rapid chain strikes landing with a large cleaver is enough to physically push Black Emperor back. For a brief moment, the players watching cannot believe what they are seeing. Something actually forced him to give ground. It does not matter. The Black Emperor absorbs the pressure and pushes back through it. The fight is brutal by the standards of the tower's early floors, but it ends in one direction only. The global announcement drops. Black Emperor is the first player in the world to solo clear the 10th level of the Tower of Ascension. The reward is another 10-spin Fate Will lottery ticket, identical to the one he earned for clearing the Goblin's Nest. He has now earned 2 of them in the span of what most players would consider a single session. He looks at the notification, allows himself one quiet moment of satisfaction, and then refocuses. The second Fate Will lottery ticket is in hand, and Black Emperor wastes no time putting it to use. With the Lord of Wishes blessing active, he spins 10 more times, and this time, the pull that matters most is an S-grade space crystal. This changes everything. Up until now, any equipment he earned inside a dungeon instance would stay behind when he left. The space crystal solves that problem. Combined with the genuine crystals he already had, he can now carry 7% of his attribute values back into reality with him. It is not perfect, but it is a foothold, and for the first time, what he earns inside starts to follow him out. The rest of the haul includes a magic crystal that bumps his defense and strength, along with a pair of life crystals. He uses them on the spot, and his stats tick upward. More strength, more defense, more health. He notes that he still has Fate Will lottery tickets and Fate fragments remaining for later. Before pushing further up the Tower of Ascension, he makes a calculated detour. He pulls up the in-game marketplace and lists the equipment he has been accumulating. The logic is sound. The earlier in the game's life cycle you sell, the higher the prices, because fewer players can produce this quality of gear yet. In-game currency converts directly to real-world money, and the exchange rate is favorable enough that even modest drops carry genuine value. The items go up, and they are snatched off the marketplace almost instantly. The total comes out to 8,400 gold coins, the equivalent of roughly 5 million in real-world currency, gone in seconds. He allows himself a moment of self-critique. He listed everything together instead of one by one, which almost certainly cost him more than it should have. A lesson noted, but farming better equipment is not a difficult task. The real money will come later, and far more of it. With the transaction settled, his mind shifts to something much heavier than gold. In his previous life, the period that followed the game's early days was defined by chaos, and a significant part of that chaos was driven by 3 notorious criminal organizations: the Smiling Coffin, the Nazalet Great Tomb, and the Octopus Society. Black Emperor runs through what he remembers about each of them with cold precision. Named officers, known aliases, confirmed S-level talent holders, the people responsible for the deaths of people close to him, including his own brother, were most likely hired operatives who worked beneath these organizations. They may not have held S-level talents, but the ones who gave the orders did. He is not in a hurry to chase them right now. There are more important things to accomplish first, more power to accumulate, more records to claim. But when the time comes, he already knows exactly who he is going to find, and exactly what he is going to take from them. Every S-level talent on that list is something he intends to collect. One of the locations connected to these organizations is described as a haven built on targeting innocent people, a place where crimes have been committed so severe that no amount of consequences would ever be enough. Black Emperor keeps that address filed away in the back of his mind. Meanwhile, in an entirely different part of the world, a different kind of predator is already at work. Two men huddle over a screen, running what appears to be a perfectly legitimate recruitment scheme. A front company advertising jobs, building trust, and then arranging group activities is cover to spring a trap on anyone who takes the bait. One of them is already celebrating another victim falling for the setup, confident their boss will be pleased. The people behind this operation have no idea that somewhere out there, a man with a very specific list has already written their names down. Floor 11 of the Tower of Ascension introduces a very different kind of enemy. The skeleton soldiers waiting here are level 10, but what makes them genuinely dangerous is not their raw stats. It is their passive. Every strike from their rust-corroded blades inflicts a tetanus effect, forcing a steady bleed of health over several seconds. Against a solo player without a healer, that damage quietly adds up if left unchecked. Black Emperor doesn't hesitate. The Black Emperor's stand is called out immediately and tears through the undead formation without ceremony. The moment triggers an unexpected wave of nostalgia. In his previous life, he spent a great deal of time grinding this very floor alongside his brother, farming the skeleton set together. The memory surfaces and passes. There is no one to farm with this time. He keeps moving. A level 17 skeleton commander appears to challenge him. It does not last long. The floor clears in 1 minute and 35 seconds, earning him 85 fate fragments as a first clearance reward. He absorbs the win without stopping, already recalibrating. The first 10 floors only yield fate fragments. From floor 11 onward, the rewards change, which means momentum matters more now than ever. He sets his sights directly on floor 20. No detours, no pausing to consolidate. He pushes through the next 9 floors in 8 minutes. What greets him on the 20th floor is a different class of threat entirely. The Skeleton Lord Thedomir is a level 20 boss built around overwhelming numbers and sustained punishment. Its Shadow Summon ability pulls a full legion of skeleton soldiers into the fight the moment it draws its weapon. Its Crushing Greatsword delivers a charged strike capable of dealing 400 points of physical damage while knocking back every target within a 3-meter radius. And its Ironclad Fortitude passive shaves off a flat percentage of all incoming physical damage, meaning raw force alone will not be enough to simply batter it down. When Thedomir raises its weapon and calls its army back from the dead, the scale of what floods the floor is staggering. At least 200 skeleton warriors materialize, filling the space with bodies. The difficulty of this single floor dwarfs everything that came before it combined. Black Emperor reads the situation clearly. He could fight through it the conventional way. The Black Emperor's stand is strong enough to grind down the horde eventually, but doing it that way carries a real probability of taking damage. And taking damage here is a cost he is not willing to accept when he has a better option available. The wish is precise and targeted. He asks for the Black Emperor to land a critical hit on every single strike, sustained until Thedomir is completely destroyed. The Lord of Wishes materializes in a swirl of golden fire, receives the command, and confirms it fulfilled. Every hit from this point forward is guaranteed to critically strike. The Skeleton Lord's army no longer looks like an obstacle, it looks like experience points. Lin Luo felt doubtful for a moment that his wish might not work, but seeing the Black Emperor going ham on the measly skeletons gave him a clear picture. Moreover, he jumped in on the fight himself, which allows the Black Emperor to fully commit to his massacre. The Skeleton Lord held his stance, petrified to find himself in the middle of a raging beast's rampage. The Black Emperor finally turned his attention to the wimpy Skeleton Lord and absolutely destroyed him in mere moments. The 100% critical rate sucked the health bar of the Bone Man entirely in just one strike. Seeing his wish display such an amazing effect made Lin Luo realize that he has been holding back on the wishes he could make before. With that, the Skeleton Lord Thedomir got crushed, and Lin Luo gained a load of experience points due to the combo of killing higher-level monsters and quick timing the dungeon with the added buff of Wish 100 battles. He reaches level 14 as well. Then, the system announces to the world that Lin Luo has soloed the 20th floor of the Tower of Ascension, thus gaining a lottery ticket for 10 draw on the Fate Wheel. After that, Lin Luo and the Black Emperor went on a spree to clear dungeons from level 21 to 29. They faced no troubles on their journey, as Lin Luo used his memory to speedrun through those floors. He gained quite a few levels and finally reached the 30th floor, which was his goal from the start. However, the system warns him to go back as the 30th level is too difficult for him. At his current level, Lin Luo, being the main character and all, paid no heed to the warning and commanded the Black Emperor to smash through the gate. From within the gate emerged a level 30 King Minotaur Minotauros, an enemy that is worthy of using the skill plunder on. The big bad Minotaur boss makes the mistake of underestimating the main character that just speedran through 10 levels like it was a weekend trip. His confident smirk drops the moment Lin Luo brings up the fact that this entire area is full of traps. The Minotaur gets agitated and prepares to attack. Lin Luo once again puts the Black Emperor to work like a Chinese kid in a manufacturing plant. While the powerhouses brawl, Lin Luo thinks back on how clearing levels 21 to 29 this quickly would be an issue, if his past memories are any indication, because all the enemies from those levels gather up on this level upon the king's commands. However, that is just pointless exposition because bro already has a plan set in motion to counter that. He brings forth the Lord of Wishes and orders him to grant the Black Emperor a crit buff that cheeses the big bad Minotaur in an instant. As soon as the health bar gets depleted, the Minotaur summons his own army to protect him as he goes into the second phase. Unfortunately for the Minotaur, before his army could even get there, Lin Luo granted the Black Emperor with so many overpowered buffs and destroyed the supposed difficult boss. In doing so, Lin Luo advanced to level 18 and plundered the ability of the Minotaur, which allows him to command the horde of enemies from the levels below. The monsters that came to kill Lin Luo now receive new orders to retreat back to where they came from. Lin Luo steals the Minotaur King's powers, and the first thing he does is a command to all the lower-level enemies to kneel before him. Meanwhile, in a beginner dungeon's secret mushroom realm, a monk-looking character uses a similar ability to make the Mushroom King and the others kneel before him. Yu Taiji arrives from out of nowhere, commending the monk called Hui Tai Rang's ability that is Emperor's Gaze. Yu Taiji thinks that he can somehow defeat Lin Luo by using this ability. He grabs a hold off the SS-ranked monk, claiming absolute power. The monk feels skeptical because this nobody in a suit can resist his gaze. He feels even more shocked to find out that Yu Taiji is a person standing beyond time who needs the help of the monk's gaze that can control monsters. Meanwhile, on the 30th floor, Lin Luo uses the same exact ability to line up the monsters and feeding them to Black Emperor so that he can farm experience points. The Black Emperor wastes no time in smashing them all in just one earth-shattering strike. The impact causes a huge smokescreen that seems to be more trouble for Lin Luo than the big bad Minotaur. Just like that, Lin Luo clears yet another floor and the praises of his solo victory is announced to the world. People cannot help but think about who even is this guy that is raw dogging these levels so easily. Lin Luo walks through the amazed crowd, having jumped to level 22 with ease. His next aim? A second job change. Lin Luo visits a tomato soup shop to think while he recovers his energy. He feels that his second job will be tougher than being a warrior, especially since he cannot rely on his previous life's memories for that. Suddenly, he spots his former colleagues causing a ruckus in the shop. They seem to be abusing the female mage in their squad over something. Lin Luo remembers all of them talking smack about him previously when word got out that his brother was in prison. They didn't give Lin Luo a chance and accused him of being from the same heritage as his criminal brother. In the print, the squad captain seems to be beating up the female mage because he blames her for their scummy supervisor's death when it was Lin Luo who did that. The captain and his lackeys continue to abuse the female mage. She whines that they used to treat her better when the supervisor was around, but ever since he died, they changed their behavior towards her. One of the lackeys reminds her that she is nothing but a suck-up who is protected by the supervisor, but now her job is to make them feel good and nothing else. They drag her over and make her heal them using her magic. Lin Luo continues to slurp his tomato soup, knowing that it was him changing the events that caused the change in the relationship between his former colleagues. As they discuss about getting a new member and clearing the tower's second floor, the captain of the squad spots Lin Luo across them. He walks over to our boy and pretends like he wasn't a complete asshole to Lin Luo in the past. The captain offers food and even a chance to make money, but Lin Luo remembers what this scum did to him in the past. The captain, Zhang Wei, approached Lin Luo after he got out of prison. The scum made our boy reveal his talent, which was unfortunately plunder. Zhang Wei used that knowledge to turn Lin Luo into a laughingstock at the office, claiming that the talents really resemble the family heritage of stealing. Even the girl that is being treated as a slave in the present used to make fun of Lin Luo in his past life. Lin Luo declines the invite, choosing to continue his solo run of the tower. Zhang Wei laughs at him, comparing him to the Black Emperor, not knowing that Lin Luo is in fact him. As Lin Luo starts to leave, the female mage quickly rushes towards him and starts to beg. With tears in her eyes, she pleads to Lin Luo to protect her, offering to do anything he wants in return. Of course, an evil person stays evil. The female mage, who begged for help, took Lin Luo's arm and tried to seduce him into helping her. Thankfully, our boy is not a simp and refused to give in to temptations. Zhang Wei storms over to the female mage and beats her up for asking help from Lin Luo. The group of scum thinks that our boy is incapable of helping the female mage, as his talent might even be lower than them. They bring up the fact that the Wen family took pity of him in the past, taking in his brother and him, yet he seems interested in their daughter. Zhang Wei crosses the line when he mentions that he might have had his way with Wen Yuqi, the daughter of the Wen family, and robbed them. Lin Luo warns him with a stern expression to take back his words. Zhang Wei, being the overconfident scum, dares to come close to Lin Luo and calls him a freeloader and a beggar. Then he orders his lackeys to show Lin Luo the world of fists. The two disposable characters think that they are all that just because they beat the first level of the dungeon and got some equipment out of it. They jump Lin Luo, projecting their daddy issues on him, but our boy casually knocks the shit out of them while standing perfectly still. Having lived 2 lives, Lin Luo is a master of the world of fists. While the female mage stands impressed, Zhang Wei craps his pants, seeing Lin Luo knock out his lackeys with ease. He then grabs a knife from his coat, trying to deal lethal damage to Lin Luo, but he is easily thwarted and knocked out cold by Lin Luo as well. It is almost a shame that our boy had to even fight this group of scums. The 2 lackeys, who somehow survived, instantly realize that they are in over their heads and that Lin Luo is a master who has a talent awakened much higher than them. They drop to their knees, begging him to accept them in his team, pretending to have been misguided by Zhang Wei. He refuses, obviously, but the 2 of them become even more pathetic, calling him their daddy, practically throwing themselves onto him for a spot in his team. Bai Hongli, one of the 8 hall masters of the Baki Society and an S-level talent awakener, witnesses all of this go down in such a rundown cafe. He orders his subordinates to assign someone clever to keep an eye on Lin Luo, as he is a strong individual. Lin Luo proceeds to leave. He orders the 2 lackeys to stay on their knees until their scummy leader gains consciousness. The female mage decides that Lin Luo is the kind of strong man she needs, and continues to beg for his help. As she holds him desperately, she confesses that it was the supervisor that forced her to be disrespectful towards him. If that was not enough, she even offered to do anything for Lin Luo, regardless of what it may be. However, no kind of seduction from such a person works on Lin Luo, as he pushes her away and leaves. The 2 lackeys mock Xiao Mei, the female mage, that her seduction failed because Lin Luo has his heart set on Wen Yuqi. Xiao Mei is unable to accept that Lin Luo is not willing to work with her, seeing how she was the company's social flower. The lackeys then remind her of her place, that she is nothing compared to Wen Yuqi, so she shouldn't even dare to approach Lin Luo. Being told that she is beneath another woman sends Xiao Mei into rage mode. She charges up and beats the lackeys to a pulp, knowing that they cannot do anything to her now that Lin Luo has depleted them of their strength. Despite being equally evil, Manhwa gets her revenge on her abusers, who still tried to put up a confident front, but ended up buried under her feet. Bai Hongli watched Xiao Mei go haywire, and decided to recruit her to his guild because they lack a female member, and his boys seem to be desperate to welcome one. Also, he could get Xiao Mei to give up valuable information regarding Lin Luo, which will help this S-level scum to manipulate our boy. One of the members of the Baki Society approaches Zimli and invites her to the guild. She gladly accepts, as the guild is one of the top-ranked ones. It took only a little sweet talk to stroke her ego, and Xiao Mei jumped right into the honey trap of the Baki Society, thinking that she did something. She feels proud of herself, and cusses out Lin Luo for rejecting her. The recruiter then straight up asks her about Lin Luo, and what her relationship was with him. She didn't react that they were former colleagues, but Lin Luo deceived her non-existent feelings. The recruiter, in an empathetic tone, asks her if she knows about weaknesses that Lin Luo might have. Full of hatred and jealousy, Xiao Mei reveals that a girl named Wen Yuqi is his kryptonite. Meanwhile, as Lin Luo heads towards the east square of the city, a spy of the Baki Society follows him secretly, while also updating his guild. The spy receives info that the guild has also recruited a girl that will satiate the thirst of the desperate guys in the guild, while the spy continues to talk to his guild member about Wen Yuqi being Lin Luo's weakness. As told by Xiao Mei, Lin Luo himself had already spotted the spy a while ago, and looks to figure out his identity. The spy receives his next orders to look into Wen Yuqi, and anything that they can use to subdue Lin Luo. The spy then continues to trail Lin Luo, but gets caught by surprise when our boy turns around suddenly, and walks in the direction of the spy. The two cross paths, but Lin Luo is unable to recognize the spy even after looking at his face. The spy thinks that he is in the clear as Lin Luo walks away. Unbeknownst to him, a flurry of fists straight from JoJo's come flying straight to his face. It was the Black Emperor who doesn't waste a moment to throw hands. With the spy subdued, Lin Luo begins his interrogation. Lin Luo knows that the spy has been following him since the soup shop, so he checks behind the spy's ear. He finds a piercing that suggests that the Baki Society is behind this. However, it is far too early for them to show up, even if events did change. Upon further questioning, the spy refuses to give in and leak information to Lin Luo. Apparently, he is an assassin of the Baki Society who are resilient and will not give up easily. Lin Luo knows that further interrogations are a waste of time, so he just summons the Lord of Wishes, and wishes for the spy to reveal his true purpose. The Lord of Wishes obliges, and grants the wish. The spy reveals that his name is Sun Lang, an assassin under Bai Hanwei, the hallmaster of Baki Society. Furthermore, after Xiaomi told the guild about Wen Yuqi, the spy reveals that he was tasked to track Lin Luo, and then find information on his crush. Finding out that the Baki Society captured Xiaomi and made her spill secrets about him, Lin Luo cannot help but feel that he misjudged her evil character. The spy reveals that they are going to use Wen Yuqi to threaten Lin Luo until he becomes Bai Hanwei's personal assassin. In his previous life, Bai Hanwei killed Wen Yuqi in the third year of disaster. Lin Luo tried his best to get stronger, so that he can take revenge on Bai Hanwei. Despite going through a lot of risks, Lin Luo's efforts were in vain because his target died to some monsters. However, in the present, after knocking out the spy, Lin Luo plans to take care of Bai Hanwei before finding Wen Yuqi in the Baki Society. After finishing up the interrogation, Lin Luo orders the Black Emperor to dispose the body. Then, he asks the Lord of Wishes about the duration of how long a wish, such as protecting Wen Yuqi from the Baki Society, will last. The Grantaire of Wishes claims that he can currently provide only 24 hours of protection. With that knowledge, Lin Luo decides to upgrade his level until he is confident about being able to kill Bai Hanwei. He figures that the 24 hours should be enough for that, so he makes the wish to protect Wen Yuqi and leaves for the second level of the Secret Realm. Lin Luo reaches the Assassin Alliance of the Secret Realm, which is a giant crystal just floating in the middle of the city. Fortunately, the area seems to be deserted. He steps in, hoping that everything is smooth sailing from here on out. He is immediately greeted by Desmond Miles, a distinguished-looking gentleman who is a pro-assassin instructor of the second transformation. He appears to be a level 30 lone rogue thief. Lin Luo responds to the greetings with kindness, and so Desmond sends him to the snowy plains where he has to find 30 snowman antlers and 1 penguin king beak. Desmond also warns our boy about the dangers that await in the snowy plains, but Lin Luo is as confident as ever. As soon as he jumps into the plains, Lin Luo realizes that the level of the assassin's secret realm is far greater than that of the warrior's secret realm. Amidst the raging snowstorm, he finds himself intercepted by a level 20 black snowman. The giant snowman is able to use sneak attacks, but with Lin Luo already expecting such a trick, he reacts quickly by summoning Black Emperor to save him. Lin Luo spots that the snowman antlers are the huge crystals on the giant snowman, so he orders the Black Emperor to smash the monster. The JoJo-coded summon is able to accomplish his task with one strike. Once defeated, the black snowman melts into a pile of snow. Lin Luo moves to grab the snowman antler, but the moment he does so, he and the Black Emperor find themselves surrounded by a horde of giant black snowmen. Somehow the defeated black snowman turned into a white snowman. This came as a surprise to the duo, but Lin Luo is not fazed by it. He keeps the Black Emperor composed by reminding him that their goal has not changed, whether it be a white snowman or black. Though the real battle has begun, Lin Luo equips his dagger and then strategizes to take out one snowman at a time because they are neither fast nor coordinated. The two of them make light work of the snowmen by one-shotting them, farming snowman antlers simultaneously. Lin Luo is able to synchronize his attacks with the Black Emperor's, as the two efficiently take down more and more of the snowmen. Each kill is different than the last, with Lin Luo dismantling the snowmen by either cutting up their limbs or shaking the earth beneath them, and then the Black Emperor delivering the final blow to eliminate the threat. The brutalization of the snowmen goes too far, as the Black Emperor gets carried away by giving them the donut treatment like Akaza did to Rengoku. Lin Luo ends up gaining 37 antlers, more than the required 30, which makes him wonder why the snowmen are endlessly coming at them. As it turns out, a little penguin king sits at an ice throne in the middle of the snowy plains, sending waves upon waves of snowmen as a tactic to wear out Lin Luo. The little penguin king takes a sip of its red wine before calling out all of the spirits of the black snowmen. Lin Luo manages to catch one of the spirits that escaped the black snowmen bodies, but is unsure of what they might be. The spirits gather into a huge ball in the hands of the little penguin king, who uses it to revive all of the black snowmen. The spirits scatter all of the snowy plains, giving rise to even more snowmen around Lin Luo. He looks around to see where that power came from, and spots an icebox atop a snowy hill from where the spirits emerged. After realizing the reason of why he couldn't get rid of the recurring snowmen, Lin Luo makes a run towards the icebox. The Black Emperor carries Lin Luo, as he is much faster than the horde of snowmen. The little Penguin King starts to panic the moment it realizes that it is in danger. The scared penguin calls out to its black snowmen to guard it. Lin Luo sees the opportunity, and commands the Black Emperor to get him towards the hilltop. Before the little Penguin King recall his guard of snowmen, Lin Luo reaches its throne. In one clean strike using his dagger, our boy slices the penguin in half before it could even make a move. The little king drops the Penguin King's beak upon defeat, which makes the mission a success. With their leader caught, the snowmen turn into a pile of snow. Lin Luo takes the items to Desmond, who approves of our boy's strength. Then, the assassin instructor presents 3 ordinary second-class assassin professions in the form of cards. They are as follows: Rogue, Windrunner, and Dark Apostle. However, with Lin Luo's strength, he gains a hidden profession, which is something he has been aiming for from the start. The job change comes with a risk of taking the life of the applicant, if it fails. Even after Desmond warning him that the second job change might result in death upon failure, Lin Luo is more than willing to take the risk because he feels that it is worth it. Demon laughs at how confident Lin Luo is, but his impulsiveness is commendable. Lin Luo prepares himself for the job change, confident that he can accomplish it because others in his past life did so too. Desmond begins the process, reminding him again that it is too late for regrets now. Desmond then sends Lin Luo to the void, where our boy is free to choose any hidden profession of his choice, though his facial expression looks suspicious as he said that. Regardless, Lin Luo goes along with it and reaches the void. He tries to touch the space around him, but is unable to do so as there is literally nothing in the void. Suddenly, 3 rays of light emerge from beneath his feet. All 3 represent a different hidden profession. Lin Luo approaches the first one, which is the Outlaw, the profession recommended by the Lord of Wishes. Its specialty is that it grants the user a lawless title and the ability to combine light and shadow. Plus, it gives 2 points to strength, 2 to constitution, and 6 to agility. Lin Luo then goes on to touch the next profession, which is Shadowless. Its specialty is that the user can create shadow clones, attach shadows together, and cast a curse on a shadow. This profession adds 3 points to strength, 2 points to constitution, and 10 points to agility. Lin Luo realizes that the colors of the light pillars represent the quality of the profession. As Shadowless outperforms Outlaw, he then turns towards the last light pillar, which is Gold. With the clear indication that this is the best one, Lin Luo further inspects it. This profession is Stormsword Master, a legendary profession. Its specialty is that it grants the user Sonic Sword Breath, a Gale Sword Barrier, and an Ursta's Sword Chi. It also grants the highest points to attributes, with 4 points to strength, 2 to constitution, and 14 to agility. Seeing a legendary profession just pop up in front of him, Lin Luo is unable to comprehend it. Even in his past life, such a profession did not even appear. He considers going for the legendary profession because that would make the fight with the Baki Society pretty easy. Suddenly, a thought comes to his mind about the Lord of Wishes hiding this information from him. To make sense of his suspicions, Lin Luo calls out the Lord of Wishes, who happily turns up on his master's orders. Without wasting a moment, Lin Luo confronts the sly wish granter about why he lied to his own master. The deceitful summon turns away in embarrassment. The Lord of Wishes is quick to plead his case that he suggested the change to Outlaw because it is the safest option out of the 3 professions. Lin Luo doesn't seem convinced, so he becomes even more aggravated. The sly Lord of Wishes quickly opens up a probability chart to prove that he had no ill intentions. The chart shows that Lin Luo has an extremely, almost non-existent chance of survival if he chooses the legendary profession. Next, even though this has a slightly better chance, Lin Luo might also die if he chooses to change to the rare profession. So, by the process of elimination in the stats, Outlaw has the highest and the safest chance of success for a job change. Lin Luo can't help but feel that the Lord of Wishes was right about the choice of profession, since he preferred the safest option. However, before the Lord of Wishes could feel good about himself, Lin Luo brings up the fact that he is the main character. Going for the safest option is what side characters do, which the Lord of Wishes totally forgot. With that misconception now cleared, Lin Luo reminds the wish-granting summon to not overstep his boundaries by making the decisions. He is only good for weighing out the pros and cons of things. The Lord of Wishes is quick to oblige, letting Lin Luo put himself at risk of going through with the legendary profession. Our boy sits cross-legged within a massive sphere of golden light, while a towering spectral manifestation of an ancient sword master looms behind him. He recognizes that obtaining this legendary legacy requires him to fully comprehend the true essence of storm and death. As he focuses, his eyes close and an intense, fiery, skull-like aura of energy flares up behind his head. Suddenly his eyes snap open and he is pulled into a vision. In this vision, a silver-haired swordsman stands atop a high, cloudy cliff playing a flute. This figure emphasizes the importance of remaining loyal to both the sword and the heart. Below the cliff, a desolate battlefield is illuminated by strikes of lightning as a massive army of warriors marches under a red flag. The swordsman explains that while death is a constant companion, he does not fear it. He demonstrates the technique by pulling his blade from its sheath and listening to the howl of the wind, teaching that the wind and the sword are one and the same. The silver-haired master leaps from the cliff and drives his lightning-infused blade into the earth. The resulting impact creates a massive crater and sends violent shockwaves across the field, blasting his enemies away. He explains that the sword of the storm only grows fiercer with each slash. A skeletal warrior then appears amidst the smoke and dust, wielding a blade to clear the remaining foes. The vision concludes with the master sheathing his sword, officially designating the path as that of the Storm Swordmaster. The vision ends and Lin Luo returns to the void, his head dropping forward from exhaustion. The Lord of Wishes begins to fade into golden particles, informing his master that his energy is depleted and he must enter a period of deep slumber. As the spirit disappears, our MC remains in the void, sweating heavily but keeping his focus. He realizes he is now entirely on his own. Suddenly his body gives out and he plummets backward into the dark, starry expanse of the void. Back in reality at the Assassin Alliance building, a spatial rift opens and Lin Luo crashes face first onto the carpet. Desmond Miles, the instructor, stands nearby holding a cigarette and watching him fall. He observes the motionless body and remarks that this is the inevitable price of arrogant youth. A system screen projects into the air, repeating a global announcement 4 times to declare that the world's first second transcendence professional has been born. Desmond shakes his head in disappointment, lamenting that if the boy had not been so greedy and had chosen a simpler path, he might have been the one to achieve this title. Because of his delay, the instructor assumes someone else has claimed the lead. Suddenly Lin Luo lets out a cough and pushes himself off the floor. Blood drips from his nose, but he looks up at his instructor with a manic and highly confident smile. Desmond is stunned that the boy is still alive. Our guy asks about the world's #1 status and whether it is truly someone else. Desmond's condescending expression instantly vanishes, replaced by absolute shock as he stares at the grinning protagonist and asks in disbelief if he has actually succeeded in changing his profession. Desmond sits on the couch and drops his cigarette on the carpet while our boy drinks from a red bottle. Desmond asks if he is using an advanced stamina recovery potion. Lin Luo lowers the bottle and wipes his mouth as a green aura appears around him. Desmond stares at him and demands to know if he changed jobs just by using potions and asks how he managed to succeed. Lin Luo smiles calmly and asks the Tower Master if he is feeling hot. Desmond looks confused as a flame erupts on the carpet where the cigarette landed. Desmond leaps up from the couch in pain and clutches his pants as the fire burns. Our brat walks away with his back turned to him and thinks that he has no time to chat. He walks confidently toward the white spatial portal and thinks that the old prey has fallen into a deep sleep and that he needs to count the time after killing by Manhwa. He steps out of the portal into a city at night under a crescent moon while the wind rustles. He notes that it is already evening and looks at his phone to see the date and time are November 12th at 21:37 with 4 unread messages. He calculates that the job change took 5 hours and realizes he must kill Bai Hanlai within 19 hours. He opens the messages from Qin Xiaomei, who thanks him for helping beat Zhang Wei and the others and invites him to a meal tomorrow at noon at a location pinned as FD Japanese cuisine. He also smiles and wonders if she is truly this kind or if this is arranged by the Baki Society. He thinks that she has delivered herself right to him but decides he cannot wait until tomorrow and needs to choose a suitable place for action. The scene shifts to a bedroom where Qin Xiaomei sits on the bed in a pink nightgown and looks affectionately at Lord Tang. She tells Lord Tang that he is the strongest man she has ever seen and that there is finally some light in her life. A phone on the bed vibrates with a notification for 3 unread messages and Lord Tang picks it up. Qin Xiaomei tells him not to worry about those things and asks him to continue. Lord Tang sees the phone and realizes that Lin Luo has replied. The screen shows that our boy replied that he is busy tomorrow and suggests meeting tonight at 12:30 at the beach in the eastern suburbs with a map location. Lord Tang notes that he changed the time and location and abruptly turns away to put on a jacket. He tells her to hurry up and get ready because they are leaving right away while Qin Xiaomei sits on the bed and glares with clenched teeth as she thinks that Lin Luo is always ruining her plans. The scene moves to a massive ancient dark stone tablet standing under a starry night sky. It displays text announcing the first second-class job change and warning of a rat-level catastrophe in 24 hours. A student asks his teacher what the disaster will be. The teacher explains that the warning implies a major threat and orders him to notify all countries immediately so they can prepare. The scene returns to Lin Luo sitting alone on a dark beach facing the ocean. His phone dings with a curfew notice stating that starting tomorrow November 13th at 20 a nationwide curfew will be implemented and all outdoor activities will be prohibited until further notice. He thinks that in his past life this notice was due to a rat-level catastrophe. His calm expression shatters into wide-eyed shock and alarm as he wonders why it is happening 5 days earlier in this life. In his past life, the first wave of the catastrophe was an otherworldly insect disaster. Because most of these monsters fell between levels 1 and 20, this event served as a major opportunity for awakened individuals with kills yielding 4 times the normal experience points. Some large guilds actually rose to prominence during this period, but for ordinary people the disaster proved deadly since it persisted for a full 15 days. As he lies back on the ground, he thinks about how he failed to protect anyone in his previous life, instead becoming a burden to those who cared for him. Now that he possesses the power to change things, he smiles at the thought of finally being able to safeguard those he loves. A flashback reveals a younger, bruised Lin Luo laughing with Wenyuchi who leads him forward. She taught him valuable lessons, including the need to protect himself, which inspired his own desire to guard her in return. Although his brother stole from the Wen family, they held no grudges once they understood their situation. The flashback highlights how Wenyuchi was present during every important moment of his life, from his childhood to his exams. The memory shifts to a dark red abyss where Wenyuchi falls helplessly, reminding our guy of the moment he failed to protect her when she needed him most. This memory snaps him back to the present with intense rage, his fist clenching as he vows to kill Bai Hongli first. Elsewhere, a luxury car travels through the night, carrying Qin Xiaomei and Lord Tang. He answers a call, and the story confirms he is actually Kuduzai, a member of the Baki Society from the Sakura Nation. Through the conversation, Kuduzai learns that Princess Yoshiko and Lord Miyamoto are set to be married next month. The caller reveals that Miyamoto has awakened an SSS-level talent and is the key to their organization's restoration. He orders all S-rank individuals to collect Ascension crystals and enhance their own talents. After hanging up, Kuduzai trembles with fury, unable to accept that Miyamoto is taking Princess Yoshiko and the future of the Baki Society from him. He resolves to reach SSS rank within the month, which requires a massive amount of crystals. To achieve this, he decides to use people like Lin Luo as forced labor. Kuduzai instructs Qin Xiaomei to assign a group to monitor Wenyuchi starting tomorrow, reasoning that controlling her will force our hero to work for him regardless of his actions tonight. He tells Qin Xiaomei he will not attend the meeting himself, trusting her to manipulate the guy into joining the Baki Society. Qin Xiaomei pledges her loyalty and confidence, while Kuduz chuckles at the prospect of using her to secure his ambition. When Qin Xiaomei arrives at the meeting point, she approaches him with a seductive smile, confident that her successful manipulation of Lord Tang means she can easily handle our protagonist as well. She playfully calls out to him while sprinting toward his position, but she trips mid-run and falls face-first into the sand beside him. As she looks up at him with a pained expression, our boy calmly sits up and asks her directly where Bai Hongli is. This question catches her completely off guard, and she begins to sweat nervously as she wonders how he knows the name of the man she knows as Lord Tang. She quickly attempts to hide her panic behind an innocent facade, feigning confusion and asking what he means. In response, Lin Luo leans in aggressively and glares at her, clearly stating that he is talking about Bai Hongli, the lord of her Baki Society. The girl defensively looks away, admitting that she joined the organization but claiming she has never actually met the man and only knows his name. Having no interest in wasting time, the hero turns his back on her. Desperate to maintain the upper hand, she grabs the sleeve of his jacket and pleads with him to listen. She insists again that she has not seen anyone by that name, instead pivoting to her original objective of recruiting him into the Baki Society. She promises that if he joins, he will gain access to all the resources, connections, and money he could ever want. Ignoring her sales pitch, Lin Luo holds the phone up and makes a call. On the other side, Bai Hongli is standing by a parked luxury car, answering his phone and demanding to know why she is only calling him now if she was sent to coax our hero. Over the phone, Lin Luo coldly informs him that he has already killed her. This revelation stops Bai Hanglai in his tracks, leaving him deeply shocked and confused as he realizes who is on the other end of the line. RMC tells him to come out, knowing he is nearby. After Bai Hanglai lowers the phone and ends the call, Qin Xiaomei realizes that her deception was useless, prompting the protagonist to repeat that he is aware of everything. Bai Hanglai steps onto the beach with an amused smile and slowly claps his hands. He compliments the young man, calling him an extraordinary talent that he had correctly identified. Lin Luo stands firmly repeating that he knows everything. Bai Hanglai ignores the tension and makes his pitch, urging him to join the Baki Society so he can lead him to achieve great things. Our hero responds with a mocking smile, asking if he is referring to their plan to restore their country. This specific mention causes Bai Hanglai's confident expression to shatter, replaced immediately by intense shock and anger. He demands to know how the boy discovered his secret. In response, Lin Luo draws his dagger, which instantly ignites with red flames. He declares that everyone involved in this scheme deserves to die. As he fully brandishes his weapon, the colossal armored figure of the Black Emperor materializes behind him as it lets out a battle cry. The Emperor immediately launches a relentless, high-speed flurry of punches against Princess Kaguya. Because the barrage is so intense, Bai Hanglai quickly steps back and shouts for his stand to retreat and stop resisting. Princess Kaguya acknowledges the order, but the Black Emperor continues its rapid-fire assault, testing her defenses. Lin Luo watches the clash closely, analyzing the situation. He notes that while the stand is keeping up with the speed and maintaining a solid defense, the attacks are failing to deal any real damage. He signals the Black Emperor to halt, calmly remarking that while the stand is impressive, it becomes meaningless if the host is defeated. Bai Hanglai laughs off the threat, pointing out that our guy has been unable to penetrate his defense. This realization forces Lin Luo to stop holding back, as he knows he needs to end the fight as quickly as possible. Bai Hanglai shares a similar sense of urgency, observing that although Princess Kaguya is uninjured, her energy is steadily draining. He decides that switching forms is his best chance at victory. Both fighters silently agree that the battle must be decided immediately. Bai Hanglai commands Princess Kaguya to switch to the Rainy Night Blade form and kill the opposing stand. Lin Luo laughs, and the Lord of Wishes appears beside him, confirming that the host will be unable to dodge the next strike. As the two entities rush past each other, Princess Kaguya thrusts her kitana forward. Bai Hanglai suddenly realizes in a panic that the Black Emperor has ignored the stand and is targeting him directly. He understands that even if his stand strikes, he will inevitably be hit by the incoming punch. Driven by a desperate gamble, he orders Princess Kaguya to ignore her own safety and focus entirely on killing Lin Luo. The Black Emperor shifts trajectory and delivers a massive, sweeping punch directly toward Bai Hanglai's face. The impact forces Bai Hanglai to the ground, but simultaneously, Princess Kaguya brings her long sword crashing down toward where our hero is standing. Bai Hanglai laughs arrogantly, convinced that a blade will always be faster than a fist. However, Lin Luo effortlessly sidesteps the strike. The sword slams into the ground, tearing a rift through the earth and sending debris flying. Princess Kaguya appears surprised by the miss, and Bai Hanglai is left completely bewildered, struggling to understand how an ordinary person could possess such speed and reflexes. Lin Luo stands calmly with his hands in his pockets, looking down at the bruised and disoriented Bai Hanglai. He admits that his opponent has strong abilities and quick reflexes, but he notes that it ultimately makes no difference. As Bai Hanglai stares up in absolute terror, the armored fist of the Black Emperor looms before him once more. RMC smiles ruthlessly, and with a final devastating impact, the Black Emperor strikes, ending the fight with the cold reminder that the strong live while the weak die. Lin Luo stands tall and calm over the lifeless body of Bai Hanglai. He thinks to himself that he has finally avenged Sister One. He extends his right hand and purple energy erupts from it. Soon the system announces the activation of his S-level talent known as Plunder and asks him to choose between target attribute values, talent effects, skill effects, or soul power. Lin Luo pauses and considers that his current innate abilities are not particularly strong, so he needs more S-rank or higher talents. He stands engulfed in energy and activates the Plunder talent effect. The system congratulates him on obtaining the S-rank talent called Rainy Night. This level 5 talent allows the user to shield against all detection using an umbrella in rainy weather, and provides the ability to manipulate the weather to create a small area of rain at night. During a rainy night, the stand known as Princess Kaguya gains a 2% increase in attack speed. A silver-haired maid in a gothic black and white dress manifests in the rain holding a black umbrella as detailed stats appear beside her. The system lists her strength at 120 and agility at 200. Her umbrella provides 400 defense points while excess damage only deducts energy, and every 100 points of damage blocked consumes 1 energy point. The Blade of Rainy Night deals an additional 200 points of true damage and consumes 2 energy per second, though this cost is halved during a rainy night. Princess Kaguya addresses Lin Luo as her master. He looks sharply and calculates that combining the Rainy Night talent with the Princess Kaguya stand creates a true balance of offense and defense. The stand possesses 30 intelligence, so she is capable of autonomous combat without his constant guidance. He smiles warmly and reaches out to Princess Kaguya. He expresses his pleasure in their future collaboration, and she assures him that she will do her utmost to protect him, and that the cold storage is secured. An ethereal wisp of energy floats up from the corpse of Bai Hanwei, and Lin Luo notices it. Kaguya explains that killing has a chance to produce items dropped by the opponent. Our guy wonders if he obtained any good equipment, and the wisp lands in his hand to materialize as a clock-like token. He realizes it is a single draw from the Fate Roulette, which is perfect timing to complete 2 consecutive 10 draws. He looks around his surroundings and appears confused that the Lord of Wishes did not appear. He realizes the previous wishes caused an energy overdraft and left the spirit unable to be summoned. He recalls that there is a rare item called Forest Sanctuary in the Secret Realm in the central part of Mulan Square that can restore energy. Princess Kaguya asks if they need to go to the Secret Realm now, but he declines and says he has a more important place to go. The focus shifts to a young woman wearing a traditional Japanese kimono who looks worried while holding a phone to her ear. The automated voice tells her the number cannot be connected, and Princess Keiko wonders what is happening since the phone of her brother Hong has never been unreachable. She stands in an elegant room as a maid approaches to inform her that the time for the elders to arrange a meeting with Lord Musashi has arrived. Keiko feels anxious as the elders want to force her to marry Musashi to restore the country. She sits alone by a large window gazing into the starry night and wishes that he did not have to return. A flashback reveals a younger Princess Keiko walking happily with Bai Hanwei in a suit as she thinks about how that year in Huaxiao was the happiest of her life. The flashback ends and she looks at her phone with a desperate expression while dialing the number again. She thinks that if Brother Hong were there, he would definitely help her escape, but the automated voice repeats that the number cannot be connected. She stares at the phone and wonders where he is now. Somewhere else, Lin Luo walks toward a large 2-story house under the cover of night, feeling calm as he reflects on his recent actions. Having eliminated a leader of the Eightfold Serpent Society, he knows his death will create a major disturbance. However, he concludes that the society is currently focused on investigating the murder, so Wenyuchi should remain safe for the time being. As he contemplates this, Princess Kaguya appears beside him. She asks if Wenyuchi is the woman he likes, specifically wondering if she is his girlfriend. Our protagonist turns flustered and tries to look away, admitting that they are not a couple yet. When she presses him on whether that will change in the future, he exhales with a soft, fond smile. She notes that his decision to stay out all night proves just how important the woman is to him, and he confirms that she is indeed vital. Driven by these thoughts, he commits himself to working harder and growing stronger to protect those he cares about, ensuring the tragedies of his past life never repeat. Deciding it is time to move forward, he turns away from the house and tells his stand that they are heading to the Forest Sanctuary to level up. They soon arrive at a city square where a massive, diamond-shaped crystal floats against the night sky above a group of modern buildings. He approaches the 2 guards stationed at the base of the structure to request entry. The guards warn him that the secret realm is highly dangerous, requiring at least level 30, and note that he cannot leave once he enters. Lin Luo confirms he understands and presents a digital identification card. When the card displays the name Black Emperor, the guards recognize the title from the recent global announcements and grant him permission to enter. Before he steps through, one guard leans in to advise him not to risk his life just to impress a girl, reminding him that everyone only has 3 chances to resurrect inside. Our hero simply thanks him and expresses his confidence. Once they pass through the portal into the secret realm, the combat begins immediately. Princess Kaguya lunges forward and strikes a large, multi-eyed creature, moving with lethal speed through the dark forest. A system notification confirms that her level 8 stand successfully defeated a level 30 monster, earning Lin Luo over 1,000,000 experience points. She continues her assault, unleashing a sweeping attack that cleaves through the creatures before piercing one of the monster's eyeballs. She darts around the battlefield at high speed, slicing through multiple enemies in a flurry of strikes. Meanwhile, our protagonist relaxes in a folding chair, sipping a drink as the Black Emperor stands guard. He watches his stand finish off the remaining monsters, satisfied that he is close to reaching his level and goal. Princess Kaguya kneels and informs her master that the area is clear of enemies. Lin Luo acknowledges her success with a confident smile. He turns his attention to a blue tree protected by a barrier where a group of elves stands ready with spears. He explains to his stand that their mission is to defend this elven camp against outside threats. He notes that the elves possess the divine gift stone tree, which functions similarly to other energy crystals by restoring the power of a stand. Princess Kaguya asks if protecting the camp will result in a reward, and he confirms that this is the typical outcome. However, he keeps a more calculated strategy to himself. He recalls that in his past life some players discovered they could gain a massive amount of crystal fragments by shattering the elven defense and killing the elves themselves. He tells his companions that they must wait for the perfect moment. He smiles mischievously at the thought that monopolizing resources is far more satisfying than settling for a small reward. A massive streak of fire suddenly rockets downward and crashes into a stone wall with a violent explosion. An elven guard shouts a warning that their wall has been breached and orders everyone to retreat. Lin Luo leaps into action with Princess Kaguya trailing close behind him as he declares that it is their turn to move. In a dark cave near a green lake, small blue creatures begin to swarm and stack on top of one another. These beings fuse together to form a massive beast with fierce green eyes. A system panel identifies this creature as the leader of the Ugly Eights at level 35 with high combat stats and a destructive beam attack. The beast swipes its claw, but Princess Kaguya instantly counters with a sword strike that severs the limb and sprays green blood across the area. Lin Luo stands before the divine gift stone tree and plucks the crystals from its branches while his stands guard him. He laughs as he realizes he has collected more than he anticipated. The beast stares at him with intense rage and warns him that he is asking for death for stealing its food. RMC ignores the creature and stands calmly while holding a purple crystal. He triggers a surge of energy and commands the Lord of Wishes to awaken. The hooded spirit manifests and thanks his master for the abundant energy. Lin Luo points forward and orders the Lord of Wishes and the Black Emperor to unleash relentless critical attacks until the beast is destroyed. The Lord of Wishes confirms he is at his command and holds out his hands to open an ethereal book which shows that he can fulfill any wish at a cost determined by the difficulty of the request. The Black Emperor relentlessly hammers the leader of the Ugly Eights with a high-speed flurry of punches from below. As the beast prepares a counter-attack from above, our protagonist shifts his focus to a more tactical approach. He commands Princess Kaguya to switch to her umbrella form, ordering her to protect the Black Emperor so he can focus entirely on dealing damage. The maid descends gracefully and successfully blocks the monster's incoming punch with her umbrella. Meanwhile, smaller blob-like monsters launch themselves toward the Black Emperor holding spiked maces. Princess Kaguya dashes in swiftly to intercept them. She leaps high into the air, positioning herself directly between the massive beast and the Black Emperor to shield her companion. A loud clash echoes as she absorbs the impact. This defensive maneuver ensures the system registers a series of successful combat results. Princess Kaguya deals 200 points of true damage. The Black Emperor follows up with a critical hit for 370 points, and the successful use of Life Tap allows Lin Luo to absorb nearly 28,000 points of health. Unfortunately, the tide of battle shifts as the monster arches its back and unleashes a violent roar. Immense green energy rapidly gathers into a vortex above its mouth. Recognizing this as the destruction deathlight, our hero realizes the danger and shouts a desperate order for his defensive stand to block the blast with everything she has. The monster fires a colossal attack of poison, which Princess Kaguya takes head-on by opening her umbrella wide. When the thick smoke eventually clears, the maid floats gently back to the ground. She has successfully shielded the Black Emperor, who remains entirely unharmed. As Lin Luo analyzes the situation, he grips a crystal fragment. He notes that while the maid provides excellent defense, the energy cost is alarmingly high. He also observes that the destruction deathlight is powerful enough to drain the Black Emperor's energy. To counter this, he crushes the crystal in his hand to restore his summons. He then directs the Black Emperor to seize the opportunity while the beast is in its cooldown phase. Energized by the crystal, the Black Emperor is engulfed in a bright golden aura and unleashes a massive, full-power barrage directly into the monster's chest. This attack triggers the Plunder talent, allowing our hero to seize the Destruction Deathlight skill at 30% power, along with 150 points of attack power and 86 points of agility. The Black Emperor delivers one final, earth-shattering punch, crushing the boss into the ground and ending the fight. As the dust settles, a system notification reveals that our hero has earned over 9 million experience points. Bathed in the glow of his level up, Lin Luo reaches for his interface, noting that he now has enough experience to activate his third sub-skill. However, he remains unaware that the defeated blob monsters are beginning to bubble ominously on the ground behind him. Without warning, several serpentine, toothy tentacles burst from the puddles and lunge aggressively toward him. Lin Luo stays calm as golden portals open all around him. Sharp blades float out of these portals, ready for his command. With a confident smile, he gestures for the weapons to attack. The blades fly forward like missiles, quickly piercing and destroying the monsters. Upon landing gracefully, our hero examines his hand with a satisfied expression. He realizes that this new technique significantly boosts his attack power and provides combat effectiveness that rivals his own stance. However, this display of power comes at a steep price. His confident facade instantly crumbles into a comical look of exhaustion as he realizes that showing off for even a second has completely depleted his mana bar. He regains his composure and becomes serious, recalling that when a mage advances, there are two critical skills available, mana regeneration and mana absorption. He decides that once he has the opportunity, he will certainly focus on mastering these abilities. He resolves to stop treating them as last resort tools and instead ensure they are ready for future critical moments. He turns his attention to the white-barked divine gift stone tree, eyeing the colorful crystal fragments hanging from its branches. Curious to see how many he can collect, he pulls his arm back and concentrates a massive amount of energy into his fist. He delivers a devastating punch to the trunk, triggering a violent explosion. As the dust settles, dozens of diamond-shaped crystals rain down. He extends his hand and a large cluster of blue and purple crystals floats into his palm. Realizing he has gathered over 100 pieces, he notes that this haul is equivalent to 5 SSS-grade energy crystals. He glances back at the now bare tree, acknowledging that this is the trade-off for leveling up so quickly. Determined to keep the momentum going, our protagonist prepares for the fate roulette. He pulls out golden lottery tickets and summons the Lord of Wishes, who appears with a sly smile. The spirit asks to be considered for an elixir of longevity, noting his own energy expenditure, and suggests adding a restriction to the wish content. Lin Luo completely ignores the request. He stands in the starry expanse before the massive blue roulette wheel and declares his wish for the next 10 draws to yield items of S rank or higher while explicitly excluding the longevity pill. The wheel spins rapidly. Our hero watches in awe as he secures a legendary golden SS-grade cooldown crystal. He realizes that this item can permanently have the cooldown time of his talents. He crushes the crystal, causing a blinding flash of golden light as his body absorbs its power. He understands that with this upgrade, he will be able to plunder 2 S-level or higher talents in a single day. His success continues as he identifies the second item, an S-level magic crystal that increases intelligence by 10 points. The Lord of Wishes leans in closely, whispering a suggestion that Lin Luo should allocate this intelligence boost to whoever needs it most. A lineup of his 3 summons appears before them, highlighting their current intelligence stats. The Lord of Wishes at 180, Princess Kagaya at 30, and the Black Emperor at a mere 1 point. Lin Luo pauses to ask the Lord of Wishes how the attribute of intelligence actually functions. The spirit clarifies that intelligence is not the same as wisdom or cleverness, but instead represents the speed at which one can solve problems. This higher value strengthens the ability to learn and gain experience, which manifests across various areas like communication and combat. Our protagonist considers this information, and realizes the Black Emperor relies entirely on brute force. Thus, his effectiveness has begun to wane as monster levels increase, and his once simple victories become more difficult. He decides the Black Emperor is the one who most needs the intelligence boost, and tosses him the purple crystal. The warrior catches and crushes the item, absorbing its energy as his visor glows with a menacing red light. He thanks his master for the gift, and vows to sweep away all obstacles on his behalf. Our hero looks up at him with pride, noting that he has grown enough to handle battles without constant direct control. He then touches the back of his head with a touch of dissatisfaction, mentioning that gaining experience points through standard combat still feels slower than his plunder ability. Turning his attention to the Lord of Wishes, he offers him 2 extreme green crystals to increase his energy limit. In exchange, he asks the spirit to help him locate another target for his next S-level talent plunder. The Lord of Wishes accepts the task with enthusiasm, and agrees to help him travel and search. The scene shifts to a dark alleyway where a young man named Yang Yang is violently thrown into a dumpster, causing him to cough up blood. A blue-haired bully stands over him with a smug look while his followers watch. The bully tells his classmate to take it easy, claiming that now that Yang Yang has awakened an A-level talent, they will leave him alone. Yang Yang struggles to his feet while intense flames erupt around his fists. He glares at his tormentor and asks if this sudden change in attitude is truly enough. He then lunges forward and throws a fiery punch, questioning if the bully thought his previous actions, such as slapping him or urinating on his head, were acceptable. Suddenly, massive dark octopus tentacles sprout from the bully to effortlessly stop the fiery attack. The bully stands calmly as the tentacles wrap tightly around Yang Yang's arm, warning him not to push his luck. He mocks his classmate by asking if he really believed he was the only one hiding his true talent level. He explains that he only refrained from killing him sooner, as he found his own stand to be too ugly. Yang Yang is left in a state of terror and shock as he is engulfed by the dark appendages. He struggles to understand how someone like the bully could have obtained an S-level talent when so few people are capable of doing so. He wonders aloud if it is truly the case that evil is more powerful than good. This encounter appears as a visual projection surrounded by a red aura, indicating it is a vision being observed by someone else. Lin Luo watches this display with his hand partially covering his face and a menacing, excited look in his red eyes. He confirms that he has found his next target and locks onto him. The blue-haired bully named Zhou stands inches from Yang Yang, his tentacles wrapped tightly around his victim's body, while he mocks him for not losing his mind. Zhou's two lackeys stand nearby, feeding his ego by insisting that challenging someone with an S-level talent is a foolish mistake. As Yang Yang is hoisted into the air, constricted by the tentacles and crying out in pain, Zhou gloats that he intends to use him as a practice target for his Green Devil ability. The situation changes when Teacher Chen arrives and notices the commotion. She reprimands the students, reminding them that their superior talents do not give them the right to bully others. While the lackeys panic at the teacher's presence, Zhou remains unmoved. Because his power is no longer a secret, he decides he has no reason to hide his intentions. He lashes out with his dark tentacles, quickly snatching Teacher Chen and lifting her off the ground. Zhou pulls the teacher close, showing a predatory and seductive attitude as he suggests that he has always admired her from afar. As he forces her into a humiliating and vulnerable position, suspending her upside down with his tentacles, Yang Yang shouts in rage and demands that he stop. Zhou dismisses him, promising to finish with the teacher before turning his attention back to his original victim. Before Zhou can proceed, a sharp blade strike slices through the air, severing the tentacles holding Teacher Chen and allowing her to fall. Zhou turns around in shock to find Princess Kaguya standing behind him. In a single motion, the silver-haired mage strikes down the two lackeys, leaving them to collapse as Zhou reacts with horror. He lashes out with a defensive mass of tentacles, shouting for the intruder to reveal themselves. Lin Luo steps into the scene with a menacing smile. When Zhou demands to know who he is, pointing out that there are no awakened individuals above S level at their school, our protagonist remains unfazed. Our guy snaps his fingers and summons the Lord of Wishes. The hooded spirit appears immediately with an open book, and a fiery golden aura flares up around our hero. Lin Luo declares that he will remain unharmed for the next 30 seconds, while Zhou continues to shout in frustrated confusion, demanding an answer about his identity. Our guy smiles with supreme confidence and tells him to stop worrying about who he is and instead use his final 3 seconds to consider his last words. Zhou stands his ground, surrounded by his tentacles while pointing aggressively at our protagonist. Being threatened, he shouts a warning that he is not someone to be trifled with and gives our hero 3 seconds to leave before he attacks. Lin Luo remains perfectly still, entirely unfazed by the threat. He maintains a confident demeanor and calls upon the massive Black Emperor who materializes behind him instantly. Chu is visibly stunned by this development and demands to know how many stands our boy actually possesses. The Black Emperor surges forward with its punch ready, but Zhou manages to intercept the armored fist by grabbing it with his tentacle. Taking his advantage return, Zhou flashes a wicked smile and commands his Green Devil to devour the hero. Lin Luo keeps his cool, offering a slight smile before calling for Princess Kaguya. The silver-haired maid swoops down from above with her katana drawn, executing a precise blade slash that severs Zhou's tentacle into pieces. This sudden turn of events leaves Zhou terrified and scrambling backward on the ground. He points frantically at Yang Yang, attempting to claim that he is actually a victim and was only protecting his brother in the name of justice. Yang Yang immediately stands up and shouts back, telling him to stop spouting nonsense. Lin Luo begins walking toward the fallen bully, surrounded by a dark and terrifying red aura. He tells Zhou to stop struggling, explaining that he chose to use his power to cause trouble, so it is better for him to die now rather than waste law enforcement resources later. Desperate to survive, Zhou crawls on his knees toward Teacher Chen and pleads for her help. reminding her that he is on track to attend a top university. Teacher Chen looks down at him in surprise, but before she can react, Princess Kaguya appears directly behind him. She raises her katana and delivers a brutal, swift slash to his back. Zhou is thrown forward into a pool of his own blood and collapses, leaving Teacher Chen screaming in horror. Lin Luo stands over the body and coldly remarks that he despises scum who abuse their power for evil deeds, adding that every life must pay a price for its actions. Our hero then extends his hand toward the corpse as green orbs of energy rise and gather into his palm. He activates his plunder talent and the system confirms he has successfully taken the target's talent. As he stares at the energy in his hand, he silently wonders what he has managed to obtain. Yang Yan approaches him with a look of immense gratitude and asks for his name. Lin Luo turns back to offer a cool and confident look, identifying himself as the Black Emperor. He then walks off into the starry night accompanied by his two summons, suggesting they go find some late-night snacks. Yang Yang watches them leave with deep admiration and resolve, thinking to himself that one day he will become just like the man who saved him. Later our MC sits at a cafe, reviewing his new perfect fusion talent. The system confirms it is a level 5 ability that can merge two beings for 5 minutes, but he decides to save the skill for an actual fight instead of testing it now due to its long cooldown. He then summons the Green Devil to see what his new power can do. Dark green tentacles emerge from his back, and as he looks over his shoulder, he realizes they act like a dozen limbs that he can extend or contract at will and even feel with his own body. The system panel details the stats of the Green Devil, showing high health and defense, along with special traits like elastic skin that reduces damage from blunt weapons and spells while increasing vulnerability to sharp attacks. Lin Luo smiles as the tentacles sway around him, realizing why the Black Emperor had trouble hitting the previous enemy and why Princess Kaguya was able to defeat it so easily. He concludes that with multiple attacks and a specific defensive bonus, it remains a capable stand. He stretches his arms and announces that since the situation is resolved, he invites all his summons to join him for fried chicken. The Black Emperor, the Lord of Wishes, and Princess Kaguya materialize behind him, each expressing their excitement and gratitude for the meal. Lin Luo checks his phone with a satisfied look while waiting for the order. A blonde waitress approaches the table to confirm an enormous order of hundreds of chicken rolls, spicy hamburgers, beef servings, fish burgers, and cups of cola. When she looks awkward and explains that the store does not have that much inventory, our guy calmly tells her to bring whatever they have available. As he looks out the window, his expression turns serious. He recalls that in half a year there will be a global food shortage and considers that his space crystal can preserve items indefinitely, making it a good idea to stock up on supplies. Princess Kaguya stands up and points toward the window, noting that the fog outside is becoming thicker. Lin Luo looks determined as he checks his phone, identifying the encroaching threat as a rat-level disaster known as the Dimensional Insect Disaster. A massive spider monster with red eyes and sharp fangs suddenly drops into view outside. A mother holding her young child runs from a doorway, screaming for someone to save them. The giant spider looms behind them in the thick smoke, causing the mother to fall to the ground in terror while shielding her child. Just as the monster hisses, our hero appears, standing protectively in front of the pair. He remains calm and confident, while the mother looks up at him in shock and relief. Lin Luo then turns his back to them, facing the giant spider monster directly as it roars. Our guy instantly summons the Lord of Wishes manifesting directly behind him. He orders the spirit to use his power to dissipate the thick white mist within a 10-meter radius. The Lord of Wishes complies, and a bright beam of energy instantly clears the area, revealing a giant spider monster with multiple red eyes. Lin Luo immediately draws a sword formed from wind energy to face the threat. He delivers a precise strike that slices the massive creature vertically in half. As the monster falls, a system prompt appears to announce that he has defeated a level 7 long-legged spider, granting him over 600 experience points due to the disaster and special wish bonuses. Although he notes that he will not receive any additional equipment drops from this specific enemy, the quadrupled experience gain makes the effort worthwhile. Our boy walks calmly forward through the ruins while giant flying insectoids begin to hover ominously in the background. He calls for the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya to emerge and assist him in grinding for levels. Princess Kaguya unleashes a strike of rapid blade slashes, while the Black Emperor punches aggressively amidst purple lightning. Film notifications confirm their kills and the substantial experience bonuses earned for each fallen level 3 giant locust. The perspective shifts to the interior of a high-rise building where several seniors, including Yu Taijia and Hui Tai Rang, watch the chaos from a window. Lu Yu remarks on the intimidating nature of the creatures, specifically mentioning a fusion between an alien and a mantis. Yu Taijie explains that while this disaster is a catastrophe for regular citizens, it represents a significant opportunity for those with powerful awakened talents. Lu Yu asks if this is due to the fourfold experience points. Yu Taijie confirms this, noting that in the original timeline, the first person to reach the second stage of awakening did so 6 days after the nationwide event. Since the Black Emperor reached that milestone yesterday, the first wave of the rat-level calamity has arrived earlier than expected. He tells his team that this timing does not matter as he has gathered them to form the strongest group possible. He reasons that by exploiting the phototropism of the insect race, they can quickly reach level 20 and complete their second stage. The men shatter the glass and leap from the building into the fray, competing to see who can claim the most loot. Lin Lo stands with his 2 summons amidst the defeated insect monsters. He observes that the creatures seem to have momentarily overcome their light-seeking instinct and are hesitant to approach his immediate area, though he knows this is only temporary. He instructs the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya to remain at that location and stand guard. Our hero returns inside the fast food restaurant where the waitress has finished preparing numerous bags of food. He uses spatial magic to store the supplies while the mother, her child, and a male employee watch. He confirms the order is packed and warns them that since no one will likely come to rescue them for at least 10 days, they must stay inside and conserve their resources. The mother clutches her child and pleads with him to take them along. Lin Lo turns his back to leave, explaining that following him would be far more dangerous as the outside world is swarming with man-eating insects. He advises them to turn off the lights and cover the windows immediately after he departs. As the creatures are drawn to light, he urges them to have faith that Huaxiao will send a rescue team. As he steps out into the dark, foggy street, he suddenly feels a sense of alarm and begins to sweat. He experiences a strange, ominous disturbance that forces him to sprint into the darkness. He wonders if he has missed something crucial, reflecting on how the changes in history caused by his rebirth have accelerated the arrival of these disasters. He realizes with growing concern that this shift could pose a significant risk to Sister One. A giant insect monster hovers over a woman cowering on the street. Lu Yu suddenly appears behind her with his summon, calling out to the heavens before his bearded entity strikes downward with a staff, crushing the creature into the ground. After the threat is neutralized, Lu Yu reaches out to the woman and asks how she intends to repay him for saving her life. Before she can answer, a laser strikes the remains of the monster. A group of men, including Hui Tai Rang and Yu Taijie, emerge from the smoke. Lu Yu notes that stealing kills is poor behavior, but Hui Tai Rang dismisses the criticism, claiming he is only there to help. A man with purple hair steps forward and asks if he can make use of the monster's remains. He kneels, channeling energy that transforms the insect into a floating shadow. Lu Yu watches, noting that the Shadow Monarch is a powerful SS-ranked talent, and praises Yu Taijie for finding such capable partners. Lin Luo suddenly streaks past them, cutting through nearby flying insects with a blade of wind. Lu Yu and his group watch in surprise as he continues leveling up through the chaos. Hui Tai Rang observes that while ordinary people lack the foresight to survive, this person seems to be fighting his way out with a specific ability. Yu Taijie remains silent and serious, while our guy continues to sprint at high speed. Worried that the timeline has shifted, he reminds himself that in the original version of events, when Yuchi should have been safe, and he desperately needs to confirm her status. He arrives at a house and rings the doorbell, urging the door to open quickly. A worried woman with blue hair answers and recognizes him as Shaolin. Lin Luo immediately asks if Yuchi has returned, but the woman looks stressed, and explains that Yuchi has not come home despite it being long past work hours. She expresses panic over the phone signal failure, and the suffocating white mist outside. Our boy realizes his fears are coming true, and that something must have happened to her. He calmly instructs the woman not to worry, promising that he will go find her immediately. He sternly warns her to keep the doors and windows locked, and to ignore any noises outside, which she agrees to do. Lin Luo turns and rushes back into the dark, foggy streets. He realizes that for anyone without combat talents or special powers, meeting these monsters is a death sentence. He pushes himself further into the mist, desperately hoping that when Yuchi remains safe. Lin Luo suddenly halts his sprint when the Black Emperor points toward a body lying in the mist. Our protagonist observes the woman in the purple dress, and realizes she is already beyond saving. This grim sight reinforces the severity of the disaster, making it clear that he must find Yuchi without delay. He commands the Lord of Wishes to locate her immediately. The spirit manifests in a golden aura, and activates his tracking ability, projecting a grid-like map onto the street that illuminates a direct path to his target. With his resolve solidified, our hero clenches his fist and pushes forward to reach her. Meanwhile, when Yuchi and Wonwon are huddled on the floor of a room while a man in a suit trembles nearby in terror. As giant insect monsters loom outside, the man cries out in despair, convinced that everyone is doomed and there is no hope for survival. Suddenly, his trembling stops and his eyes widen with a manic realization. He lunges toward the two women with a twisted expression. When Yuchi and Wonwon shrink back against the wall in fear as the man stands over them. When the women scream and ask what he is doing, he chillingly explains that since they are all going to die, they should enjoy themselves while they still can. When Yuchi tries to reason with the man to calm him down, but Wonwon stares at him with disgust and warns him that he is being shameless, the man ignores them, grabbing Yuchi by the shoulders with an evil grin. When she struggles, he insults her and turns his aggression toward Wonwon. As she tries to pull his arm away to help her friend, he ruthlessly backhands her, sending her crashing to the floor. He then turns back to the helpless Yuchi, leaning over her with a predatory smile and stating that he intends to die without regrets. Despite her fierce efforts to push him away, he overpowers her and slaps her across the face. Just as he continues his assault, a sudden wind strike shatters the room's window. The man looks back in shock, distracted by the fear that insects are breaking inside. Instead of a monster, a blindingly fast slash strikes the man, forcing him to release his grip. He collapses onto the floor, incapacitated by the force of the hit. Lin Luo steps into the room and catches the falling Yuchi in his arms. She looks up at him, stunned and relieved to see him. Our hero looks down at her with a gentle smile and apologizes for his late arrival. The crazed man gets up aggressively, shouting that Lin Luo is out of his mind and that the incoming insects will inevitably kill them all. In response, our protagonist fixes him with a cold, vengeful stare as the Black Emperor begins to manifest behind him. The Emperor acts instantly, grabbing the man by the throat and hoisting him into the air. As the man struggles to breathe and begs for help, our hero holds Yuchi protectively, his gaze burning with intensity as he demands to know exactly what the man intended to do to her. When the man remains silent, our protagonist shouts for him to speak. As the grip of the Black Emperor tightens, the terrified man gasps for breath. Lin Luo then orders the summon to release him, and the man drops heavily to the floor. He desperately latches onto our hero's leg, hugging his knees and begging for mercy while claiming he has not done anything yet and offering to surrender. Lin Luo looks down at the man with menacing red eyes and asks if he is still there. He holds up 2 fingers, offering the man a stark choice between being beaten to death immediately or taking his chances outside in the middle of the insect disaster. Sweating profusely, the man thanks our hero for his supposed mercy and scrambles frantically toward the broken window to flee. As soon as the man is gone, our protagonist turns to the Lord of Wishes standing by his side. He makes a wish for 200 insects to surround the man within the next 5 minutes, a request the spirit promptly accepts. The scene shifts to the crazed man running through the ruins, wearing an evil, triumphant smile. He mocks our hero for breaking the glass and leaving them vulnerable, feeling lucky that he knows a nearby hiding spot to wait for Lin Luo to die. His victory is short-lived. A massive insect monster suddenly swoops down from the darkness, violently knocking the man to the ground. He lies helpless as an enormous swarm of insect monsters rapidly descends, surrounding him completely. The creatures overwhelm him in an instant, and he is torn apart, meeting a gruesome end under the relentless assault of the swarm. Back in the room, our hero gently rests his hands on Yuchi's head to comfort her. She asks him if he really let the man go. Lin Luo looks at her with a dead serious expression, explaining that such a thing is impossible. He tells her that because the man dared to harm the person most important to him, he could only pay for his sins by dying under the fangs of countless monsters. Hearing this, Yuchi blushes deeply and offers him a soft, grateful look of thanks. The moment of tenderness is interrupted when Princess Kaguya appears, staring intently at Yuchi to ask if she is the one who will become his girlfriend. Our protagonist panics, waving his hands and telling the maid not to talk nonsense. Princess Kaguya looks back at him innocently, pointing out that he previously stated Yuchi was important to him and asking if he likes her. Flustered, our hero scratches his head with an incredibly awkward smile and a blushing face, unable to find a clear answer. He stammers, trying to clarify that there is nothing like that between them. The awkward moment is interrupted as Wonwon, still on the floor, begins to stir. Yuchi immediately rushes over to embrace her friend, checking to ensure she is unharmed. After helping her up, Wonwon rubs her head and insists she only has a minor headache. However, her demeanor quickly shifts when she catches sight of our brat. She glares at him and accuses him of being a pervert. when Yuchi quickly pulls her friend into a hug to calm her down, explaining that he is a friend named Lin Luo who saved their lives. Hearing this, Wen is visibly surprised, momentarily lost in thought as she silently notes how handsome he is. Seeing that they are currently in a precarious spot, our boy turns serious and insists they cannot linger, urging them to leave the area immediately. Before long, Lin Luo and Wen Yuchi arrive at an apartment building. Wen Yuchi rings the doorbell and Aunt Lee opens it, clearly relieved to see her daughter home safe. The two women embrace tightly, letting out their emotions. A short time later, they are inside the apartment where our boy and Wen Yuchi sit on the sofa. Aunt Lee brings out a cup of tea for him and asks about Wen, relieved to hear that they took her home first. She expresses her deep gratitude to Lin Luo, who modestly scratches the back of his head with a humble smile. Wen Yuchi then turns to her mother to ask about her father. Aunt Lee explains with concern that as a public servant, her father received a notice that he must remain in his office for the time being. Lin Luo immediately becomes focused and serious. He recalls that Uncle Wen works at the Hang City Office Center, which is exactly where a dimensional gate is destined to open. He realizes with growing dread that if the lights from that office building remain on, they will inevitably draw the insects in, leaving those inside with no protection. He abruptly stands up from the couch, startling Wen Yuchi and her mother. He informs them that he must go to the office immediately to find Mr. Wen. Both women are overcome with worry, pointing out how dangerous it is to head back out into the mist. But our hero looks back over his shoulder with a calm, reassuring smile. He tells them not to worry and promises that he will return with Uncle Wen safely. Soon after, he stands before the office building, which is now completely encased in grotesque, pulsating insect nests that drip with thick, viscous fluid. As he studies the structure, he realizes the building has already been compromised by the swarm. Suddenly, he gasps and stops in his tracks as a heavy, suffocating pressure washes over him. He is confused by this reaction, noting that a typical rat-level disaster should not produce such a powerful, oppressive feeling. Without warning, a massive, sharp insect spike explodes through the glass window directly above him, sending debris showering down. Lin Luo stares up at the wreckage, his face covered in sweat and his eyes wide with alarm as he realizes he is face to face with the insect hole's guardian. Massive insect monsters swarm from a portal in the sky, signaling a crisis far more dangerous than the typical level 20 disaster. Lin Luo identifies the colossal beast hovering nearby as an insect hole guardian, a high-level threat that must be eliminated to stop the infestation. Though he knows these kills carry massive rewards, he is unsettled to find an enemy exceeding level 30 so early. Standing before the grotesque, towering nest, he recognizes the immense danger but shifts his focus, prioritizing the urgent rescue of Uncle Wen before attempting to engage the Guardian. Inside the office building, Uncle Wen and his colleagues sprint down a hallway with a giant insect monster smashing through the walls behind them. They barely manage to slip through an open doorway, slamming it shut just before the creature can reach them. Panicking, Uncle Wen orders his colleague to help him barricade the door with a heavy wooden cabinet. As they sit on the floor in terror, the monster slams into the door from the outside, causing it to crack inward. Suddenly the glass window beside them shatters with a deafening crash, leaving the men huddled together in fear. After a moment of silence, the colleague wonders if the insect has stopped its assault or perhaps died. Our guy calls out from the corridor to confirm his presence. When the men cautiously peek outside, the white smoke clears to reveal Lin Luo standing there with a confident smile. He stands triumphantly over the defeated body of a monster, holding a blood-stained blade as he greets his uncle. Elsewhere, 4 men stand before a diamond-shaped structure at the end of a corridor. A system indicates that the Black Emperor has already cleared the secret forest realm in under 2 hours, leaving the area in a cooldown state for the next 18 hours. Yu Taiji reacts with intense fury, realizing that he has been losing global achievements while trying to gather top-tier awakened individuals, only for someone else to beat him to this essential resource. The purple-haired man in his group notes that clearing such high-level realms alone should be exhausting, questioning how the protagonist manages to maintain energy for his summons. Yu Taiji explains that the energy cost for standard methods is manageable, especially if the player plays cautiously and assists non-player characters. Lu Yu suggests that the Black Emperor is likely another individual who, like Yu Taiji, has returned from the future. Yu Taiji agrees, though he remains puzzled about how the protagonist managed to steal his power and return to the past alongside him. Hui Tai Rang observes that the main challenge for those with S-level talents and above is the massive energy requirement for their powerful stands. Determined to recover, Yu Taiji walks away, planning to hit other realms immediately and refusing to believe that the Black Emperor can monopolize them all. As he loosens his tie in a display of mounting rage, he resolves to face the Black Emperor in a showdown once he has secured his own power. Back at the apartment, Uncle Wen and Aunt Lee are still reeling from witnessing Lin Luo's incredible power against the insects. When they ask how he became so strong, he reveals that he has awakened an S-level talent. This leaves Uncle Wen stunned, especially as he and his wife compare our guy's extraordinary ability to their own modest D-level and C-level talents. When Yuchi then steps in behind Lin Luo, smiling as she boasts about her A-level talent Celestial Sound, which enhances her singing while restoring physical strength and providing beneficial buffs to others. When Aunt Lee asks specifically what talent Lin Luo awakened, he seems momentarily caught off guard. When Yuchi quickly interjects to protect his privacy, playfully scolding her mother for being so direct. When Aunt Lee smiles awkwardly and apologizes, acknowledging that Lin Luo is an adult now, our boy turns to her with a warm smile and clarifies that his talent is called Heavenly Justice, noting that it grants him powerful attack capabilities. Admiring his strength, when Yuchi asks him to take her to run dungeons in the future, as she is too afraid to go alone, and he readily agrees. Uncle Wen offers some serious encouragement, noting how diverse talents have become following the recent global changes. He tells our protagonist that he must seize this opportunity to secure his place in society. Lin Luo thanks him respectfully. Before they conclude, Uncle Wen insists that he stay the night in their guest room, and despite the guy's brief hesitation about the inconvenience, when Yuchi playfully pulls him toward the room. As they walk away, Uncle Wen watches them and remarks on how incredible it is that the boy from the orphanage has returned to become their savior. Later that night, the scene shifts to a dark room where Lin Luo, shirtless, dries his hair. He reflects on how surreal it is to have saved Sister Wen and her father, and to be staying in their home. However, he acknowledges that he cannot remain there forever, as he still needs to rescue his brother. He concludes that his primary goal must remain focused on enhancing his strength and locating another S-level stand. The perspective abruptly shifts to a dark room. A shadowy figure begins to manifest, surrounded by red and black energy. A crazed man with glasses named Hu Jin Ming stands with his hands outstretched, laughing maniacally as he summons the Dread Demon King. A massive clawed red hand erupts from a dark portal, and a terrifying red-skinned demon with horns emerges. The demon remarks on the pleasant scent of the room, and the man looks up at his creation in ecstatic disbelief, realizing he has summoned an SS-level stand. The demon whispers to his servant, commanding him to sacrifice the fear and despair of living beings in exchange for invincible power. The man looks with a wicked, triumphant smile. Near him, a terrified girl named Hu Xinyue is sitting clutching her teddy bear and calling Jin Ming as her father. The man kneels to comfort his daughter, promising to return soon with food while instructing her to wait patiently. After Hu Xinyue agrees, the man turns and walks out the open door with the red demon, leaving the terrified girl sitting alone in the room. She calls out for her father, but he is already gone. High above the city, our protagonist stands on the edge of a skyscraper as the Lord of Wishes appears behind him. Lin Luo reflects on his recent victories, noting that he has already eliminated the Smiling Coffin, the 5 officials, Lu Ming, and Zhou Yu. He confirms that only 2 S-level stand users remain, Hu Jin Ming and Guo Tao. After he commands the Lord of Wishes to locate Hu Jin Ming, the spirit surges with golden energy and consults his book to fulfill the request. Satisfied with the information, our hero smiles and leaps backward from the building, plunging into the darkness of the city below to begin the hunt. Meanwhile, the Dread Demon King is busy crushing insect monsters across the city. System notifications confirm that the demon has successfully defeated a level 6 giant needle bee and a level 7 ghost face spider, granting it significant experience bonuses. As a result, the player sees his stand level increase rapidly by 5 levels. Emboldened by this growth, Hu Jin Ming stands enveloped in a dark red aura and laughs maniacally. He revels in his ability to level up without effort and vows to take revenge on those who mocked him and the woman who abandoned him and their child. The Dread Demon King leans in to tell his servant that his current power is insufficient, because the souls of the defeated stand users provide too little fear. When the man asks how to find more, the demon strokes his cheek, causing the man to sweat nervously as he learns that human souls generate the most delicious and potent fear. The demon whispers to the man, asking if he truly desires great strength, and the man readily agrees. The pair arrives at a home where the demon punches through the door, shattering it to reveal a terrified husband holding a knife while his wife clutches their baby. As Hu Jin Ming points toward the family and asks if this level of terror is sufficient to satisfy the demon, The creature responds by savoring the intense aroma of human fear. The husband tries to defend his family by lunging forward with his knife, but the dread demon king instantly impales him through the abdomen. As blood spurts from his chest, the demon licks the fresh blood from his fingers and confirms that the quality of human fear is far superior to that of other stands. Hu Jinming stands completely paralyzed, staring at the gruesome scene with eyes wide in shock as he finally begins to realize the true, horrifying nature of the stand he has summoned. The Red Dread Demon King sits over the body of a man he just struck down, feeding on the potent fear rising from the victim. The dead man's wife watches from nearby, clearly distressed as she holds her baby and pleads for the creature to stop. The demon ignores her request and demands even more sustenance. Hu Jinming stands behind his summon in a state of panic, gesturing wildly while asking how the demon could possibly kill innocent people. He explains that he only summoned the entity to help him level up by taking out the insect monsters outside. The demon turns to his master and clarifies that he was brought into existence specifically by the man's inner desire for the despair and fear of others. He declares himself to be the embodiment of calamity itself, and promises to grant the servant invincible power only after he has had his fill. He tells the man to discard his hypocritical kindness. The demon throws the man to the ground, causing him to scream in pain. The creature then informs the man that he will be the one responsible for killing the woman standing behind them. The man refuses and tries to run away, but the demon laughs and sprays a green, poisonous fluid at him to force his compliance. The man suddenly turns back around, his expression shifting into a sinister, possessed smile. He reaches down to the ground and picks up a knife. With a wicked look on his face, he raises the weapon high, preparing to strike the woman who is crouching in fear before him. The woman begs for her life and pleads for the safety of her child, but the man strikes her with fatal force, resulting in her death. Lin Luo suddenly appears on the scene, looking entirely serious. Hu Jinming stands over the victim holding the bloodied knife and looks back at our protagonist in shock. Lin Luo instantly summons his servant, and the armored Black Emperor manifests behind him, surging with a powerful aura. Our hero commands the Black Emperor to kill the beast. The Black Emperor charges forward rapidly, enveloped in energy, and shouts as he closes the distance. The summon clashes directly with the Red Dread Demon King, their hands meeting to create an explosive shockwave. As the fight continues, the Dread Demon King speaks calmly, noting that he did not expect to encounter such a powerful stand. The creature then shifts his focus to Lin Luo, commenting on the intense emotions he senses and imagining how delicious it would be to immerse our hero in despair. The demon thrusts a hand toward the Black Emperor to knock him back, staring intensely at our protagonist with a feral look. As the Dread Demon King prepares to land a killing blow on our protagonist, Princess Kaguya suddenly appears between them. She opens her black umbrella to block the strike, saving him from certain doom. The demon responds with a flurry of powerful punches, but the silver-haired maid keeps up by swiftly intercepting each attack with her umbrella. Lin Luo watches this intense exchange while sweating, realizing that he would have been unable to react in time if not for her intervention. He shouts out a command for his primary combat summon, the Black Emperor. The armored figure recovers and charges forward, landing a vicious punch directly on the demon's face. The impact is massive, yet the Dread Demon King glares back with a pathetic laugh, insisting he is a mighty being. Filled with killing intent, the demon prepares a powerful counterattack while dismissing his opponents as insects. Seeing the danger, Lin Luo issues a tactical order for Princess Kaguya to utilize her Rainy Night Blade. The maid readies her weapon, but the Dread Demon King sneers at them to get out of his way. He unleashes a devastating outward blast to counter their movement. This immense force sends both the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya flying backward through the air. Lin Luo quickly steps in and firmly catches the falling maid in his arms to break her descent. The demon raises his massive clawed hands high above his head, preparing to deliver a crushing downward strike onto the fallen Black Emperor. He curses the boy and orders him to die. In response, Lin Luo shouts for his Green Devil ability. Dark green tentacles erupt from his back, surging with raw energy. One of these massive limbs violently intercepts and firmly catches the demon's descending red fist mid-air, leaving the entity utterly bewildered. More thick green tentacles rapidly coil around the demon's arms and torso, completely immobilizing him. With the enemy restrained, Princess Kaguya dashes forward and unleashes a blazing high-speed sword strike that cuts deep into him. The demon screams in disbelief, questioning why his protective magic is failing. He is soon engulfed in intense green flames. Lin Luo stands casually in front of the burning creature with his hands in his pockets, asking if he really thinks he is good at fighting. As the demon screams that he is eternal fear itself, Lin Luo coldly dismisses him, saying he would only be fit to kneel if he ever returned. Soon the green flames finish consuming the demon, leaving behind nothing but ashes. Our hero reflects on the recent battle, noting that Princess Kagaya's ability to deal true damage was the deciding factor when combined with the Black Emperor and the Green Demon. He realizes that this victory was inevitable given the strategic pressure he applied. As the battle concludes, Hu Jinming suddenly snaps out of his possession and stares in utter disbelief at the bodies of the couple he murdered. He breaks down in horror, repeatedly sobbing that he has killed someone. Lin Luo stands over the kneeling man, projecting an intense and terrifying aura. He asks the man for his final words before he executes him. Cowering on the floor, the man pleads for mercy, insisting that he was controlled and never wanted to take a life. Our hero holds up his blade and tells him that his actions have consequences and that his stand remains a danger as long as he is alive. Accepting his fate, the man stops begging and offers one final request regarding his daughter. He asks Lin Luo to tell her that he had to travel to a distant place and will return to find her when she grows up. Our hero swings his weapon to end Hu Jinming's life, promising that he will look after the girl. The man dies with a grateful smile as he collapses into a pool of blood. A system instantly appears to notify Lin Luo that his S-level talent called Plunder is ready for use, prompting him to select between attribute values, talent effects, skill effects, or soul power. He recalls the immense power of the Dread Demon King and estimates that the enemy stand was at least SS level. He also considers that the demonic entity was capable of backlashing against its owner. He realizes that by choosing soul power, he could potentially upgrade one of his own S-level stands to SS level. He then crouches by the corpse and activates the Plunder talent with a surge of energy. As red and black energy rises from the body, he reaches into the void with confidence, thinking that while the previous owner could not tame the beast, he will succeed where others failed. Upon absorbing the dark energy, the system informs him that he has successfully plundered an SS-level stand known as a motion igniter. He reviews the details for his new ability. Emotion sensing allows him to detect the feelings of all living beings within 30,000 meters for 5 seconds, while emotion ignition can magnify the feelings of a specific target within that same range by 10 times. Lin Luo initially wonders if the talent is underwhelming, but he quickly reconsiders, suspecting that an SS-level power must be more complex than it appears, and may offer enhancements similar to his Rainy Night ability. Driven by anticipation, he calls out for his new stand to appear. The sky above darkens as red clouds and lightning swirl into a storm. An egg slowly descends from the center of the chaos. Lin Luo catches it, but his excitement turns to pure confusion as he stares at the object, wondering why he received an egg instead of a powerful demon. Lin Luo stares at the mysterious egg in his hand, trying to understand what he has just acquired. A system panel reveals that while the stand has a maximum growth value, all its other attributes like power, agility, and intelligence are currently 0. The only clear information provided is that the stand will hatch after absorbing a specific primary emotion chosen by the host within a 300-kilometer radius. He realizes that this stand lacks a fixed form or ability, leaving the burden of choice entirely on him. To test his new SS-level talent, he activates emotion sensing and closes his eyes. Suddenly the chaotic feelings of the city flood into his mind. He senses waves of panic and despair from residents trapped by the thick mist, hearing their desperate prayers for rescue and their anxiety over lost contact with the outside world. The sheer volume of information is overwhelming, and he is left gasping for breath when the 5-second duration expires. He realizes that only a mage with significant mental power could handle such a sensory load without strain. Reflecting on the situation, he looks down at the lifeless body of Hu Jinming. He understands now that the former owner must have chosen fear as the nourishment for his stand, which ultimately resulted in the birth of a demon that grew beyond his control. While the demon's strength was undeniable, its tendency to consume the host made it a dangerous liability. Lin Luo decides he will use his sensing ability again once it cools down to search for a safer, more sustainable choice for his own stand. He summons the Lord of Wishes to locate Hu Jinming's daughter, Hu Xinyue. The spirit directs him to a dark room where the young girl sits alone, clinging to her teddy bear and calling out for her missing father. Lin Luo knocks on the door and introduces himself as a friend of her father. After he enters, he maintains a warm and reassuring facade to keep her calm. He later moves her to a safer, brightly lit room where she eats a meal, telling her that her father is currently busy protecting the city and has asked him to look after her. When he asks if she is worried about him being a liar, the girl explains that her own talent is emotion sensing. She tells him she can feel his pure goodwill, which gives her complete trust in his intentions. As he prepares to leave, he considers that Hu Jin-ming was a tragic figure. He resolves to find a proper home for the girl once the disaster subsides. Outside, his demeanor shifts as he navigates the chaotic mist-covered streets. He observes that the world has fallen into disorder and recognizes that many others are likely failing to control their own powers just as Hu Jin-ming did. He decides that conventional morality and worldly perceptions no longer hold the same weight they once did. With a fierce and determined expression, he commits himself to forging his own path. He declares that he will become the leader who secures a future for Huaxia, and he vows that anyone who dares to block his way will eventually be trampled beneath him. The story shifts to a grand, multi-tiered temple complex surrounded by clouds, known as Linging Temple. Standing on the temple steps, Yu Taiji gathers his team consisting of Lu Yu, Eagle, and the purple-haired man. When the group asks if this is the location of the Wormhole Guardian, Yu Taiji confirms it based on his memories of his previous life. He explains that defeating this guardian will reduce the current crisis in Hangzhou and help them reach the second stage of awakening soon. Lu Yu interrupts with a sly smile, suggesting that the team needs to appoint a captain. Yu Taiji senses his ambition and asks if he desires the position. Lu Yu points out that while they represent the most talented group of awakened individuals in the city, he finds Yu Taiji difficult to read. He questions whether Yu Taiji is overestimating the Black Emperor, noting that since this person never appeared in their previous lives, he might not actually be stronger than their SSS-level duo. Lu Yu asserts that if he helps kill the Black Emperor and restores Yu Taiji's lost abilities, it would prove that he is more qualified to lead. Yu Taiji grows angry at the suggestion, declaring that he will reclaim his stolen power on his own terms. Meanwhile, Lu Yu silently calculates that while he is unsure if killing the Black Emperor will return the power of the remaining calamity, he is certain they cannot allow the man to fully recover. He resolves to kill the Black Emperor immediately after reaching the second level. Yu Taiji then turns to Eagle and asks him to scout the surroundings. Eagle closes his eyes as his ability activates, manifesting two eagle-like eyes around his head. Yu Taiji notes that the strongest life form within a kilometer is only a level 7 giant pincer mantis. Yu Taiji reacts with shock and distress, realizing that something is wrong. Huai Tai Rang notes that they have made a wasted trip because the Black Emperor has already cleared the secret realm. Yu Taiji concludes that the rat-level calamity has occurred in advance, and that the wormhole has shifted to a position different from the one he remembers from his past life. The scene shifts to a dark, purple-hued cityscape where Lin Luo runs toward a massive insect monster looming over an apartment building. A system reveals that this Void Kingworm is a level 34 creature with extreme life points. It possesses two dangerous skills, a parasitic legion that swarms attackers and a roar that summons all nearby insects for protection. Our guy analyzes the threat, realizing that although it is a D-level monster, its massive health pool and ability to summon an army explain why the city struggled to defeat it in his previous life. He notes that despite its terrifying size, its other attributes are not as overwhelming as they appear. Given its high stats, he identifies it as the perfect target for the Black Emperor's plunder ability. He charges forward, summoning his two stands, and declares that he has found a new talent to nurture. Princess Kaguya and the Black Emperor launch themselves at the beast on his command. However, as the Black Emperor lands a punch infused with strength, a system notification appears, warning that the Guardian is shielded by the power of a different dimension, rendering standard stand attacks invalid. Lin Luo freezes in surprise, realizing the monster is playing dirty. The giant creature roars and fires a thick red beam of energy into the sky. A buzzing sound fills the air, and our boy looks up in alarm to see a massive, terrifying swarm of giant green insects descending upon him from the sky. Although they are low-level monsters, our protagonist recognizes that being completely submerged by such a vast number poses a genuine threat to his safety. However, he quickly realizes that these countless enemies represent an incredible source of experience points. He reasons that the larger the wave of monsters, the more valuable the catch becomes. With this in mind, he calls out to his summons, Princess Kaguya and the Black Emperor, to begin the offensive. Princess Kaguya reacts immediately and dives into the fray, swinging her katana with lethal precision to deliver a series of killing slashes. Beside her, the towering Black Emperor unleashes a furious and powerful barrage of rapid punches that shatter the ranks of the insects. Lin Luo joins the assault by performing a powerful sword strike, projecting a massive wave of red energy that he calls his Swift Sword Chi. As the monsters fall, a stream of notifications appears in the air, confirming that his summons and his own strikes are successfully eliminating the threats. He earns significant experience points for each kill, bolstered by a massive 800% experience bonus. High above the city, a news helicopter navigates through the thick, dark mist. The reporter, Mushi, speaks urgently into her microphone to inform the public that Hangzhou has been entirely engulfed by the white fog. She explains that while the disaster has cut off all signals across the city, she is determined to stay on the front lines to document the situation for the viewers. Suddenly the cameraman points out of the window in shock. Mushi turns to see the colossal Void King worm emerging from the sea of clouds and notices someone standing on its back, locked in combat. Mushi expresses her disbelief, noting that while the era of awakening has begun, most people are still at a very low level and could not possibly withstand such a massive monster. Driven by the desire to capture this heroic figure, she orders the crew to get closer, wanting the people of Hangzhou, China, and the entire world to witness his bravery. Standing atop the massive creature, Lin Luo feels the mounting pressure as the insects continue to swarm them. He notices that the energy consumption for both the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya is becoming dangerously high. To keep them fighting, he pulls out a crystal and crushes it, forcing his summons to replenish their energy so they can continue to keep the insects at bay. Princess Kaguya and the Black Emperor acknowledge his order, but our MC internally worries that even with the shards of the divine gift tree, the high cost of his swift sword chi is becoming unsustainable. Just as he pushes through the conflict, a system prompt appears, announcing that he has officially reached level 24. Our hero smiles as he opens his skill panel, noting that he has gained a significant power bonus from the dungeon. He quickly taps the interface to upgrade his 10,000 sword salute skill from level 1 to level 5. He analyzes the mechanics of his new power, realizing that this upgrade drastically reduces mana consumption while increasing the number of sword strikes he can generate every second. Furthermore, he gains a 67% attribute bonus for being in this dungeon, which massively boosts his combat effectiveness. Feeling the surge of his upgraded abilities, Lin Luo looks determined. He decides it is time to fight these monsters with everything he has. He orders his summons to go all out, and together, the three of them surge forward to continue the hunt for the king of the insect swarm. Our protagonist plummets through the air toward the massive armor of the Void King worm, clutching his red dagger and being trailed closely by the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya. With his eyes wide in manic determination, he thrusts his hand forward to release a violent, spiraling tornado of blue sword energy. He screams for his summons to attack the insect with everything they have, and they surge ahead in immediate compliance. As he grips his weapon, the Lord of Wishes manifests at his side. Lin Luo wishes for no insects to be allowed within a meter of his position, and the spirit promptly fulfills the request. To push his advantage, he activates a Berserk Crystal to boost his summons by 30% and calls forth his Green Devil ability. Massive green tentacles erupt from his body, aggressively swatting away the surrounding swarm of winged insects. The ground beneath them suddenly shakes, causing him to lose his balance and wonder in confusion what is happening. A red sonic blast erupts from the beast, and he realizes that the Void Kingworm is using its ultimate roar because its health has dropped below 30%. He grits his teeth, forcing himself to stay determined as he orders his summons to keep up the pressure so the creature cannot recover, all while the swarming monsters mock him with chaotic laughter. High above the city, a news helicopter navigates the thick mist as reporter Mushi broadcasts the scene with urgent passion. She tells her viewers that although the city is in crisis, the people of Huaxia are not surrendering. She directs everyone's attention to the figures fighting on the back of the monster, covered in blood. When she asks the pilot if they can provide support, he regretfully explains that the helicopter is unarmed. Clutching the microphone with intense resolve, she shouts for our hero to keep going. She vows to broadcast his heroic deeds faithfully, wanting the city and all of Huaxia to remember the person who fought to save them at the cost of his own life. Back on the battlefield, our protagonist drops heavily to one knee, panting as his energy reaches a critical low. The Lord of Wishes appears behind him and channels a restorative golden fire from his book, completely revitalizing his master. Feeling his strength return, Lin Luo leaps into the dark sky with his dagger drawn. He descends rapidly toward the massive maw of the Void Kingworm, summoning his tentacles once more to challenge the screeching beast to a test of endurance. As he hovers in midair, he calls upon his Green Devil ability, and a flurry of golden spectral swords manifests around him, all pointed directly at his target. He thrusts his hand downward with absolute force, launching a blinding, explosive strike into the head of the monster. With a final shout, he commands the creature to die. In the nearby helicopter, reporter Mushi and her cameraman watch the display in total shock. As the blade strikes the massive armored head of the Void Kingworm, it creates a colossal blast that completely shatters the beast's armor. Our hero lands firmly on top of the defeated monster's head. Soon, the system declares to the entire world that the Black Emperor is the first player to defeat the Void Guardian, rewarding him with a Fate Roulette 10-spin ticket and 10 Fate crystals. The reporter is visibly amazed and breaks into a light sweat as she realizes the mysterious legendary figure behind these global accomplishments is actually a resident of their own city, Hangcheng. She grips her microphone tightly, her eyes welling up with tears of relief and joy. Lin Lo stands calmly on the monster's carcass and glances back toward the news helicopter. He offers a smile, which leaves Yaomushi blushing deeply with admiration. She finds herself thinking about how young he is, and hopes for a chance to interview such a legendary hero. Suddenly, a series of detailed notifications pop up before our protagonist. He has successfully killed the Guardian in the original dry run, earning him the roulette ticket and Fate crystals. Utilizing the massive experience bonuses from the disaster and his own skills, he has accumulated a total of 7,200% bonus experience, pushing his level up to 27. Lin Lo considers that these Fate crystals are incredibly valuable, as they can guarantee a 100% success rate for forging gear. He decides it is best to save them for his future top-tier equipment. As the massive body of the Void Kingworm begins to dissolve into thick smoke, he looks out at the city skyline. He realizes the insect race will retreat, and the thick mist should dissipate soon. Now that the Guardian is defeated, Princess Kaguya and the Black Emperor stand beside him. The Black Emperor asks if it was acceptable to let people record the entire fight. Lin Lo smiles and explains that it is better to have it recorded, as the footage will alert the authorities to his existence, and might even help him rescue his brother later. He becomes thoughtful as he calculates his next steps. His supply of godsend crystal fragments is running low, so he needs to hurry to the Lin clan's holy land to replenish them. After that, he plans to hunt the next target on his list to keep increasing his strength. Lin Lo stands with his summons near a car and instructs the Lord of Wishes to open the door, requesting to be taken to the martial arts plaza before he goes to locate Ji Wenying. The Black Emperor stands dutifully by the open door and invites his master to get in. The scene shifts to a room where a man with slicked back brown hair stands with 3 others. He is clearly enjoying himself, laughing and urging his companions to put in more effort. The camera switches to a recording viewfinder, showing Ji Wenying lying on a white bed. She looks flushed and confused, asking why they are filming a television drama. The man smiles creepily at her, explaining that they are filming a series specifically suited to her background as a well-known actress from the R country. He claims it took significant effort to arrange this cooperation. He gestures to 2 of his lackeys, ordering them to coordinate with the teacher and give their best performance. They aggressively grab at Ji Wenying's clothing. She panics and struggles to push them away, but they forcefully rip her dress. She falls to the floor, clutching her torn clothing in fear. The man mocks her, praising her acting skills and asking what kind of performance she will put on next. Suddenly everything changes in a flash. Ji Wenying transforms into a demonic figure with black horns and large bat wings. She smiles sadistically. The man blushes heavily, staring up at her with an excited, perverted expression, unaware of what is coming at him. Lin Lo arrives at the abandoned factory alongside the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya. He wonders why Ji Wenying would be hiding in such a desolate place. He approaches the entrance, which is blocked by double doors held shut with heavy chains, and snaps the metal links with his bare hands. He then orders the Black Emperor to open the way. The Emperor forces the doors open, revealing the interior where several men lie dead with twisted, unnatural expressions. Our guy finds the scene unsettling and questions why their deaths look so strange. To prepare for any hidden threats, he turns to the Lord of Wishes and makes a wish to remain unharmed for the next 30 seconds. The spirit agrees, and a powerful surge of energy erupts around our hero. Suddenly the energy fades and Lin Luo collapses, losing consciousness and falling backward. Princess Kaguya rushes forward in alarm, catching him before he hits the ground and desperately calling out to him. From the mist in the background, a dark silhouette appears and lets out a soft, mocking giggle. Princess Kaguya immediately assumes a defensive stance. The Lord of Wishes orders the Black Emperor to guard their master and tells the maid they need to uncover the source of the disturbance. Princess Kaguya agrees and dashes swiftly toward the mist to confront the enemy. The perspective shifts to a dripping pink heart as Lin Luo gasps and wakes up in a completely different, vibrant setting. He finds himself sitting on the edge of a bed in a room decorated with romantic touches. His eyes land on a wedding photograph on the nightstand that shows him and Wenyuchi, causing him to wonder in confusion if he actually married her. Suddenly the fantasy versions of Wenyuchi in a blue gown and Princess Kaguya in a revealing maid outfit appear with seductive expressions. Lin Luo is shocked by their presence and their attire, but the figures move onto the bed to lean in intimately. They call him husband and master, suggesting that he is tired and offering to help him relax during their spring night. Back in reality, the scene reveals Princess Kaguya unleashing blade strikes against Ji Wenying. The woman is fully transformed into a demonic figure, and she expertly dodges the maid's attacks. She taunts the girl for her ferocity, thinking to herself that she is lucky the pink fantasy serves as her home court, as she might have been killed otherwise. Princess Kaguya pauses her pursuit to stand by the Lord of Wishes, clearly troubled by the situation. Ji Wenying mocks them, asking why they stopped and suggesting they have reached the limits of their connection to their host. Princess Kaguya is confused, noting that her master made a wish to be unharmed, so she cannot understand why he has fallen unconscious. The Lord of Wishes consults his book, appearing equally perplexed as he realizes the wish was granted, yet the master is still experiencing some form of attack. Ji Wenying smiles sadistically, explaining that she is not attacking him, but helping him. She reveals that Lin Luo is currently lost in a dream, enjoying a paradise that will continue until he ultimately exhausts himself to death. Ji Wenying screams in rage at the Lord of Wishes, who remains perfectly composed while holding his open book. After listening to her outburst, the spirit calmly thanks her for the information. A golden aura surges around the Lord of Wishes as he channels the power of his book to release our protagonist from his dream state. The energy strikes the head of our guy, finally snapping him out of his hypnotic trance. Despite the illusion, Lin Luo stands holding the vision of Wenyuchi while Princess Kaguya looks on from the background. He wonders aloud if he has somehow achieved his dream early, though he quickly realizes the real Wenyuchi would never be so forward. Suddenly, the entire dream world shatters like broken glass. Back in reality, Lin Luo awakens and instinctively clutches his head. The Black Emperor is quick to confirm that his master has finally regained consciousness. Princess Kaguya, appearing deeply relieved, clings tightly to his arm and explains that the Lord of Wishes managed to rescue him from the pink illusion. Ji Wenying reacts with pure shock, unable to believe her ability was dispelled so easily. Our boy looks at her with a calm, analytical gaze and asks if she is the one responsible for the illusion. The Black Emperor lunges forward to restrain her, warning her that harming his master will cost her life. As Ji Wenying cries out in panic, our hero touches his chin and reflects on the situation. He acknowledges that even with a successful wish, the fact that she could strike him without making a sound suggests her stand possesses significant power. As the Black Emperor pins her down, Ji Wenying reverts back to her human form and struggles to break free. She begs for her life, claiming she never intended to cause him harm. Lin Luo gestures toward the corpses scattered across the factory floor, asking if she is indeed Ji Wenying and whether she is responsible for these deaths. She looks up with tears streaming down her face, pleading innocently that these men deceived her and intended to violate her under the guise of a film shoot, forcing her into a desperate situation. Without warning, she lunges at Lin Luo and hugs his chest, begging for mercy and offering to do anything, even become his girlfriend, to stay alive. Our guy's expression shifts from calm to a menacing, dark realization as he recognizes she is attempting to use her talent on him once again. He immediately calls for Princess Kaguya, who appears behind her in an instant and thrusts her katana through Ji Wenying's chest. As blood splatters, Ji Wenying falls backward in shock, dying with the realization that her S-rank talent, Fatal Temptation, had no effect on him. Lin Luo watches her fall, noting that while the men who brought her there deserved their fate, her attempt to manipulate and kill him was a fatal mistake. As dark energy rises from her remains, he opens his palm to absorb it and commands the system to seize the talent she held. The system identifies this as Fatal Temptation, an S-rank ability that increases the user's charm tenfold toward the opposite sex, causing them to fall uncontrollably in love. Lin Luo realizes this skill is what made him hesitate earlier, though he feels slightly disappointed that it only works on the opposite sex. Turning his focus to his new acquisition, he summons his new stand, but he is baffled to see a cute girl with pink hair instead of the powerful demon he just defeated. She simply greets him as her master, leaving our boy completely confused. When she notices his disappointment, she immediately transforms into a mature woman, leaning in close to his face to ask if this form is more to his liking. Being flustered, Lin Luo coughs and requests that she return to her previous state. The enchanting witch shrinks back into her smaller form, playfully remarking that his shy reaction is cute. A detailed attribute panel appears in the air, showing that the enchanting witch is an S-level stand with balanced stats in strength, agility, and intelligence. The system notes her double form mechanic, explaining that the child form consumes no energy, while the mature form boosts her charm toward the opposite sex by 5 times for a minor energy cost. Her signature skill, Pink Illusion, allows her to trap a target's consciousness in a paradise dream until they experience pain, with an energy cost that scales based on the target's strength. Lin Luo studies these details and concludes that while she is not a combat-focused stand, her high energy cap and control-based skills make her incredibly effective. He reasons that as long as an opponent is trapped in her illusion, the battle is essentially won. He walks down the corridor with the Lord of Wishes, noting that his gains for the day have been quite good. Remembering that another member of the organization, a man named Lu Jianing who goes by the alias Ice Wrath, is still at large, he instructs the Lord of Wishes to track him down. Elsewhere, Lu Jianing walks down a street at dusk, carrying a plastic bag. He is battered and bruised, complaining to himself about the nature of his SS-level talent, which requires him to sustain injuries in dangerous situations to activate. He laments that while he can recover inside an instance, he is forced to spend his own money on medicine in the real world, having barely survived by robbing a pharmacy. Lu Jianing pushes open a door to his hideout and is stunned to find his ex-girlfriend, Little Red, lounging seductively on his bed. She smiles at him and welcomes him back. Lu Jianing reacts with immediate rage, yelling at her for returning after she had dumped him following her examination. He tells her that he is no longer the man she can treat like a dog, just because he awakened a powerful talent. Little Red cuts off his rant by leaning forward and kissing him on the cheek. His anger instantly vanishes, replaced by utter shock as he finds his resolve crumbling. She playfully pushes him onto the bed and climbs on top of him, asking for forgiveness and offering to let him punish her however he likes. Overcome by lust, Lu Jianing smiles and grabs her, eagerly agreeing to do exactly what she wants. The reality of the situation is revealed when the scene shifts, showing Lu Jianing actually lying unconscious on the bed. Lin Luo and the Enchanting Witch stand over him, confirming that he never perceived the illusion before he fell into it. After receiving a compliment from his master, the Enchanting Witch beams with pride. Our boy signals Princess Kaguya, who steps forward with her katana. He orders her to finish the job. As Princess Kaguya swings her blade down toward the sleeping target, a blue aura suddenly erupts around Lu Jianing's hand. He catches the sword midair, gripping the blade firmly to stop the attack. Princess Kaguya struggles to pull her weapon free as it remains locked in his hand, leaving Lin Luo staring at the scene in complete shock as he tries to understand why his strike failed. The ice stand of the unconscious Lu Jianing suddenly manifests out of the freezing mist. It proudly declares itself the master of extreme cold and challenges our hero to a fight. In response, Lin Luo immediately shouts for the Black Emperor and the Green Demon to join the fray. The ice stand quickly takes the initiative, summoning a massive wave of frost that covers the sky. When the Black Emperor attempts to charge forward, the ice stand mocks the attempt to use a barrier before binding the Emperor in thick, rapidly forming chains of ice. The Black Emperor is caught off guard by the sheer speed of the attack. When an ice chain lashes out toward Lin Luo, Princess Kaguya appears just in time to deflect it with her katana. Recognizing that he is facing an autonomous defense stand, our protagonist feels a surge of excitement and decides that this is the perfect opportunity to plunder a new talent. He orders his current summons to retreat. The ice stand crosses its arms, arrogantly questioning if the hero lacks the courage to attack. Lin Luo smiles as he sees exactly what the ice stand is doing. He notes that the stand is surprisingly articulate and correctly identifies its strategy of provoking him to make a mistake so it can strike down the human host. The ice stand is impressed by his sharp perception, noting that his level is clearly above 55 and the stand is only S level, meaning a one-on-one fight would be unfair. Determined to end the fight, our hero raises his fist and activates his perfect fusion talent, commanding the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya to merge. The two summons transform into streams of purple and pink energy that swirl together to create a powerful new silhouette. When the energy fades, a new form of Princess Kaguya emerges, clad in elegant maid attire accented with heavy black armor and surrounded by a powerful aura. Her stats are significantly boosted, featuring immense strength and agility, and her new rampant blade skill allows her to steal attributes with every hit while dealing massive true damage. She also gains the Black Emperor's durable armor and specialized combat traits that increase her accuracy and experience gain. Lin Luo studies his new asset, noting how the fusion perfectly balances Princess Kaguya's natural agility with the indestructible armor of the Black Emperor. With a speed that makes her the true king of assassins, she dashes forward and delivers a violent strike that lands directly on the ice stand's arm. Stunned by the blow, the ice stand resorts to a desperate ice nova, unleashing a chaotic shockwave of freezing energy and sharp frost to protect itself. the fused warrior simply leaps backward into the air, gracefully dodging the deadly shards as they explode outward. The ice stand reacts with shock as the fused form of Princess Kaguya effortlessly neutralizes the frozen nova. Desperate to regain control, the stand raises its arms to command the environment, declaring that everything must freeze within an eternal ice coffin. Massive, rectangular pillars of ice plummet from the sky, slamming into the ground to converge into a solid structure around Princess Kaguya. Just as the cage fully forms, she explodes outward, soaring into the air with her sword drawn and challenging the stand's capabilities. She raises her blade to strike, declaring that it is now her turn to lead the offense. Panicked by the incoming assault, the ice stand screams at her to back off while frantically launching an icy rainstorm. As sharp icicles rain down upon her, the stand questions whether she feels any pain. Princess Kaguya remains completely unfazed, dismissing the massive storm as nothing more than a few falling snowflakes. She readies her ultimate attack, commanding the rampant blade to doom everything in its path. The ice stand tries to save itself by layering multiple defensive spells, including 0-degree ice armor and another nova, desperately hoping the cold will slow down her strike. Despite these efforts, Princess Kaguya lands a heavy hit on the stand's shoulder. The force of the impact causes the armor on her chest to shatter. Because the Black Emperor's armor is destroyed, her release restraint ability triggers, removing all negative effects and boosting her agility by 60 points. Empowered by this surge, she swings her blade with lethal intent, calling out the name of her technique as she delivers the final blow. The ice stand cracks and shatters into fragments, leaving the maid standing victoriously. She declares her loyalty to the master's glory before turning her attention to the unconscious Lu Jianing, raising her sword to end the threat once and for all. A final, fatal strike ensures the enemy is defeated. Back in reality, the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya in her standard-made form stand behind Lin Luo to confirm that they have returned unscathed. He laughs, praising their performance and telling them to rest while he handles the aftermath. As he hands over the lifeless body of Lu Jianing, a system notification prompts him to activate his plunder talent. He chooses to seize the talent effect from the corpse. As the energy flows into him, he feels a surge of power and correctly guesses that he has obtained something beyond the S-level rank. He eagerly calls up the system panel to inspect his new prize. The talent is revealed as an SS-level ability called Persona Mask. It allows the user to conjure a mask based on the deepest pursuit of a person's life to summon a guardian deity. However, he quickly reads that this deity only manifests when the host is in mortal danger, with its strength scaling based on the lethality of the situation. Lin Luo's excitement instantly evaporates as the reality of the condition sinks in. He grabs his head in utter frustration, gritting his teeth at the realization that a power he cannot control is essentially useless to him. Lin Luo reaches out, desperate for the energy to work. He refuses to give up, demanding again for his guardian deity to come out. A moment later, he slumps onto his hands and knees, clearly frustrated as his 4 summons gather around him. He wonders aloud why he cannot simply deploy the 2 powerful stands he snatched. The Lord of Wishes suggests that there must be some inherent restriction placed on SS-level abilities. Hope isn't lost yet, though. A sudden realization strikes him, and he turns toward Princess Kaguya with a risky plan. He asks her to slash at his neck, which leaves her looking visibly surprised and concerned. He explains that his new talent only triggers when he is in a state of lethal danger, so he needs to see if a new stand will emerge under the threat of an attack. Princess Kaguya draws her katana. She stands over him as he offers his neck, reluctantly agreeing to follow his instructions. She swings her blade toward him with great speed, but the sword stops instantly, resting gently against his skin without causing any harm. Lin Luo sits on the ground in confusion, wondering why the talent failed to activate. The Lord of Wishes provides a logical analysis, explaining that the stand likely sensed he was not in any true danger because Kaguya had no real intention of killing him. Taking this to heart, our guy stands up and turns his attention to the Black Emperor. He commands his strongest combatant to strike him with everything he has, insisting that he does not want any restraint or pretense. The Black Emperor charges forward aggressively, pulling his massive fist back to deliver a devastating blow. As he throws the punch directly at Lin Luo, the impact point erupts with a violent burst of dark energy. Suddenly the entire scene freezes in time. The Black Emperor is stopped mid-strike, and the other summons stand motionless in surprise. Lin Luo realizes that time itself has halted. As he looks around, he finds himself trapped in a void of surging, fiery blue flames, wondering who is responsible for the phenomenon. A mysterious, resonant voice speaks out, praising his resolute heart, valiant spirit, and steadfast courage. A white mask featuring narrow, slit eyes and a wide, dark smile materializes within the blue flames. The voice tells him to release the anger he holds toward the unfairness of the world, along with his ambition and desire for the future. The entity calls itself the Persona Mask, and tells Lin Luo to roar out its name, eagerly reaching toward the floating mask. Our hero calls out for it to follow his command. A tall figure wearing a formal suit and a pointed mask manifests with enough force to send a shockwave that pushes the Black Emperor backward. Lin Luo identifies his new summon as the Savior. Enveloped in blue fire, the Savior stands tall and offers to send the Black Emperor to hell with just a single command. The Black Emperor recovers quickly, glaring at the newcomer and challenging him to see who will end up in hell first. Our protagonist immediately steps between the two, forcing them to stand down. His expression turns furious as he demands to know how they dare act without his explicit permission. The Black Emperor apologizes for his behavior, while the Savior introduces himself as the guardian deity, ready to receive orders. Lin Luo observes the newcomer with a thoughtful expression, finding his attitude refreshing. He notes that the Savior is his first normal SS-level stand, which is a relief after the unreliability of the fearful demon. A system panel appears, displaying the Savior's impressive statistics and abilities. Our boy studies the data, noting that the information is much more comprehensive than that of his previous S-level summons. He is particularly pleased that the 3 skills, Abyssal Flower Blooms, New World and Eternal Paradise, cover his needs for survival, area of effect damage, and support. He feels these are significantly more useful than the capabilities of the Arctic Destroyer. He asks the Savior to explain the meaning of the 23% form designation. The Savior replies that he calculated the recent danger and determined that using only a small fraction of his total power was sufficient to protect his master. The Enchanting Witch points at the Savior, and skeptically asks if he really thinks he can stop the Black Emperor with such a limited display of strength. The Savior crosses his arms and confidently asserts that using more than 1% of his power against such a foe would be a waste. Enraged by this dismissal, the Black Emperor flares with lightning, glaring at the newcomer and challenging him to a spar. The Savior remains unimpressed, asking how an S-level stand could possibly be qualified to fight him. Lin Luo quickly steps between them to intervene, silencing the bickering. He flicks Xiaomei on the forehead for her interference, causing her to run crying toward Princess Kaguya. As Lin Luo stands in the middle of his aggressive summons, he feels a growing sense of exhaustion, realizing that as his team grows, managing their distinct personalities and high intelligence becomes increasingly difficult. He worries about what might happen if he loses consciousness again. He addresses the group and instructs them to follow the orders of the Lord of Wishes if he ever loses consciousness. The Lord of Wishes steps forward with a bright, pleased smile, confirming his new authority, while the others acknowledge the command. The Savior also agrees to comply before dissipating into energy particles, explaining that he will return to his realm since the immediate crisis has passed. The Lord of Wishes bows respectfully to his master, expressing gratitude for the trust placed in him. Meanwhile, in a snowy landscape near a massive crystal structure, a group of people is arguing. Lu Yu looks frustrated, noting that despite their recent cooperation, the group are already demanding a redistribution of profits. He points out their original agreement regarding profit sharing, but is interrupted by Hui Tai Rang, who argues that because their abilities have grown, it is only reasonable to adjust the ratio. Lu Yu reacts with aggression, shouting at Hui Tai Rang to watch his language, but Hui Tai Rang firmly reminds him that they are no longer his subordinates. Yu Taiji steps in and silences them, standing imposingly with his stand, Lord of Time behind him. Lu Yu scoffs, and Hui Tai Rang attempts to smooth things over by distancing himself from the argument, blaming Lu Yu's arrogance for the tension. Yu Taiji looks resolute as he announces a new arrangement. From now on, everyone acts individually except during assembly. Profit distribution will be decided separately for every secret realm they explore. He stands firm with his summon, asserting total control over the fractured team. Yu Taiji explains that there are 12 left after the Black Emperor claimed the forest sanctuary. He proposes a plan where he and Hui Tai Rang each take 2, the others get 1 each, and the final 4 remain open for fair competition. To maintain order, he strictly forbids any life-and-death battles between them during their excursions. Lu Yu asks how he should handle the need for perfect strategies. So Yu Taiji explains that while exploring alone is fine, obtaining his exclusive strategies will require a payment of 10% of the spoils. Lu Yu agrees to these terms, and Hui Tai Rang, worried about upsetting the trio and losing Yu Taiji's favor, agrees as well. Lu Yu and Hui Tai Rang with his subordinates then depart to prepare for their next assembly. Left alone with his summon, the Lord of Time, Yu Taiji contemplates the impressive talent of his associates. He decides that instead of rushing to recruit them, he should focus on enhancing his own strength first to ensure he can lead effectively. The Lord of Time comforts him, assuring him that he is doing a great job, which leads Yu Taiji to conclude that he should reunite with his more reliable veteran teammates from the past. Elsewhere, Lin Luo walks through the city at night accompanied by his summons. He observes that while the Wormhole Guardian is defeated and the fog is receding, some stragglers remain. He expects the military to arrive soon to end the disaster. He recalls a secret realm nearby called the Tomb of Weeping, which contains ashes of the deceased that can restore energy. Because this realm was kept under lock and key by others, he never had the chance to grind it in his past life, meaning he lacks a perfect strategy for it. However, he remains unconcerned as he now possesses enough raw strength to overcome any obstacles. He arrives at the portal for the tomb with his team and leads them inside. They find themselves in a cold, rocky gorge, where the enchanting witch immediately shivers and complains to him about the temperature. He checks in with his other summons to see how they are handling the environment. The Lord of Wishes, the Black Emperor, and Princess Kaguya all confirm that they are unaffected by the freezing air, with Princess Kaguya noting that extreme conditions actually aid her cultivation. To help the enchanting witch, Lin Luo opens a spatial portal and pulls out warm jackets. He gives a pink cape to Princess Kaguya and a white bunny outfit to the enchanting witch, who is delighted to be warm again. As the group pushes deeper into the gorge, the Lord of Wishes notes that the area is eerily empty with no signs of conflict, as if the inhabitants had simply vanished into thin air. They continue forward until Princess Kaguya suddenly alerts the group that the enemy has arrived. Our hero smiles in anticipation, ready to begin the challenge. As a horde of pale, zombie-like enemies rushes toward them, he points forward and orders the Black Emperor to intercept the incoming wave. Because he wants to maximize his team's potential before the fight intensifies, he pauses to strengthen their lineup. The Black Emperor acknowledges the order with a sharp confirmation, while the Lord of Wishes manifests behind Lin Luo, surrounded by a golden aura and holding his book open. Our boy tells the spirit it is time to fulfill his old wish. Holding a small golden item, Lin Luo waits for the spirit to respond before crushing the object tightly in his fist. A blue magic circle, shaped like a clock face, comes into existence. Our hero immediately triggers his swift rotation technique. As the Black Emperor charges ahead, throwing a powerful punch, Lin Luo looks up at the magic circle with fierce determination. A crystal pointer descends toward the magic circle, and he shouts for it to open. When the pointer strikes the circle, he is stunned to realize he has pulled an SSS-grade elevating crystal, marking a rare 1% success rate. He leans in with a sly smile and claps a hand on the Lord of Wishes' shoulder, satisfied that the draw is a total success. The spirit humbly replies that serving him is an honor. Lin Luo thinks to himself that he is relieved the results turned out well, as poor performance would have led to more criticism. Holding the valuable crystal, he considers his next move. Although the crystal is worth at least 1 billion Chinese yuan on the market, it only provides 70 points of talent experience and cannot upgrade his plunder ability to SS grade. He decides to save it for his brother instead. This will help him elevate his talent, activate his own stand, and finally get ready for the upcoming rescue mission. He crushes the remaining materials in his hand, directing a surge of energy into the Black Emperor. The summon feels a massive increase in power as his attributes update, showing improvements to his agility, defense, and movement distance. The Black Emperor immediately tests this new strength, throwing a devastating punch that sends multiple enemies flying backward. While standing in the snowy gorge, Lin Luo reviews the best strategy to maximize his gains. He knows that most players would assist the incoming investigation team from the 2nd Legion of the Temple to explore the Tomb of Heroes and defeat an undead mage from the witch cult, but he realizes this path offers relatively low rewards. Seeking a higher yield, he chooses a far more dangerous strategy. He intends to take full advantage of the chaos brewing within the tomb. He orders Princess Kaguya to assist the Black Emperor in clearing the remaining enemies so they can move forward. Princess Kaguya draws her katana and leaps into the fray with enthusiasm, while our master instructs the Black Emperor to remain quick and decisive. Somewhere else, deep in the shadows, an undead mage is monitoring the combat through a crystal ball. He notes that the group is surprisingly powerful for managing to escape before the arrival of an abomination. A woman in a white dress and veil stands beside him and clarifies that while there is one human present, all the others are summoned spirits. As the image in the crystal ball zooms into focus on Lin Luo's face during the fight, the mage remarks that the Destined One has unexpectedly appeared. The story moves as a group of soldiers on horseback rides through a snowy, icy passage known as Forgetfulness Canyon. The leader of this group, 2nd Legion Commander Reinhardt, holds his sword high. He calls out to his men, stating that they are in the canyon to fight for the glory of the temple and must eliminate the members of the witch cult. The soldiers respond with enthusiastic cheers, raising their weapons. Suddenly Reinhardt pauses, looking ahead with a surprised expression. He halts his horse before two figures standing in the snow, Lin Luo and his summon, Kaguya, who is currently in her Black Emperor form. Our boy approaches the commander and claims to have the latest intelligence from the forward camp. Reinhardt studies them with intrigue, wondering if this is a rare occurrence of a chosen one accompanied by a heroic spirit. He tells the adventurer to provide the information and promises to reward him based on its value. Lin Luo gestures toward his companion, claiming she holds the critical intel. Kaguya accepts the duty, her eyes sharpening as a dark, intense energy surges around her. When Reinhardt tells her to simply stand there and give her report, Kaguya draws her sword and dashes forward with incredible speed. Reinhardt raises his sword to block her strike, demanding to know who they are. Lin Luo calls out that the commander will be immobilized for 3 seconds. Reinhardt feels the strange power suppressing him and wonders what is happening. In an instant, multiple system alerts appear. Kaguya's blade has struck true, triggering a frenzied plunder. She successfully seizes over 2,000 points of chi, 30% of his flame-splitting devouring wave sword skill, and 30% of his master-level swordsmanship. Reinhardt realizes his power is rapidly declining and suspects there is a major problem with the assassin's knife. He looks behind him and sees Lin Luo standing in front of the Lord of Wishes, realizing the protagonist is secretly controlling him. He labels our boy a sneaky individual, but manages to break free from the control by unleashing a massive explosion. He thinks that the boy cannot hold that skill for long and plans to wait until the control time expires. The mounted soldiers rush forward with swords drawn to protect their leader. Lin Luo immediately executes a powerful spinning attack with his dagger, generating a circular shockwave of wind that knocks the soldier and his horse backward. Reinhardt swings his large sword, unleashing a wave of power that pushes Kaguya back. He shouts for her to get away and glares at our hero, calling him a villainous witch cult assassin and challenging him to direct combat. Lin Luo stands calmly with his arms wide, smiling as he invites the commander to come forward. Reinhardt charges at our guy, who remains motionless. As he runs, the commander wonders what the boy is planning but decides he must kill this assassin regardless. But just as the steel is set to bite, time seems to snag. A towering figure wrapped in blue flames erupts into existence behind our hero, catching the blade dead in its tracks. It is the savior. The spirit asks who dares to challenge his majesty. Reinhardt looks up at the massive savior in absolute shock, questioning how this is possible when a chosen one is supposed to be able to contract with only a single heroic spirit. Lin Luo smiles with a hint of malice, telling the commander that he will be unable to move in the next second. The savior points a single finger toward Commander Reinhardt. With a sharp command to explode, he releases a torrent of concentrated energy. Reinhardt is caught completely off guard, his expression shifting from confusion to raw terror as he realizes he is witnessing a power from a new world. As the energy consumes him, his final thoughts are focused on the glory of the temple, but the overwhelming force quickly silences him, ending his life. Watching the chaos through a crystal ball, the Lich Bride and Undead Mage mistake Lin Luo for a mysterious witch cult envoy. Convinced their ritual is divinely guided, the mage decides to welcome this unexpected help. They view the arriving hero as a chance to safely continue refining the bones of fallen soldiers into vital ashes, agreeing to play along and entertain their guest while they work. Outside in the canyon, the remaining soldiers charge forward, desperate to seek revenge for their fallen commander. Princess Kaguya, still in her Black Emperor form, surges to meet them. With a single devastating strike of her blade of fury plunder, she obliterates the charging force. She gracefully sheaths her sword and stands victorious, reaffirming her duty to protect the master. As system notifications flood the air, Lin Luo notes that killing these faction-aligned NPCs provides fewer rewards than monsters, but it remains a necessary step to acquire the ashes he requires. He instructs Princess Kaguya to retreat and find a hiding spot, waiting for the perfect moment to return and harvest the remaining spoils. Just then, the undead mage emerges from the ground directly in front of our hero. He addresses Lin Luo as a noble messenger from the witch cult and invites him to visit the Tomb of Heroes, promising that they will take care of the remaining Imperial soldiers. Lin Luo is taken aback, wondering if the cult has mistaken him for someone else. He realizes this encounter is not part of any strategy guide he remembers, but he quickly shifts his mindset to adapt to the situation. With a cunning smile, he accepts the invitation and follows the mage into the darkness. He hopes the mystery waiting for him will be worth the effort. Guided by the mage, our hero soon reaches a dark cavern entrance where the Lich Bride and several hooded figures are waiting for his arrival. Lin Luo quietly analyzes the group, realizing that with a surprise ambush, he could eliminate them all instantly and clear the mystery. However, he chooses to play along for now, hoping to uncover the location of the ashes before revealing his hand. The Lich Bride welcomes him and asks if he carries any important instructions from above. Lin Luo has no such information, so he puts on a performance. He pretends to be flustered, coughing into his hand to buy time, then turns the tables by confidently demanding an update on their progress. This forces the mages to reveal their secrets. The undead mage explains that they have spent 10 days on their ritual and have nearly finished refining the frost giant dragon. Lin Luo demands to see their work, and the Lich Bride leads the group down a corridor lit by floating green spirits. They eventually reach an icy chamber where the Lich Bride gestures for him to look. Stunned, our hero stares in awe at a colossal skeletal dragon, its massive chain-bound frame wreathed in chilling energy and dominating the entire chamber. Lin Luo identifies it as a level 40 boss that would be far too dangerous for regular players to handle. He turns to the hooded mages and asks about their progress. The mage explains that after 10 days of ritual work, they were initially worried about interference from the Holy Temple's Second Legion. Because the messenger arrived to help them repel those forces, the mages feel safe enough to finally proceed with the refinement. Our guy maintains his composure while thinking that the boss will offer massive rewards once it awakens, and he resolves to return and claim them later. He then shifts the conversation to the ashes of the dead, explaining that recent battles have drained his energy and he needs them to recover. The mage looks flustered, claiming the ashes are essential for the dragon and that supplies are running low. Lin Luo challenges this, questioning why the cult would prioritize the ritual over his own energy needs. A mage quickly tries to appease him, ordering his peers to bring the remaining portion to the guest. When our boy receives the container, the system confirms it is a small quantity that will only provide a minor energy boost. Disappointed by the meager profit, he demands that they continue refining more ashes. The mage argues that this will delay the dragon, but Lin Luo sternly orders them to prioritize his needs regardless of the original task. When the mages hesitate, he summons the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya to display his authority, scolding them for daring to defy him. Terrified, the mages bow and immediately shift their focus to producing the ashes. Meanwhile, the Lich Bride slips away into a dark room to consult a mysterious, shadowy figure. Lin Luo questions why she is interrupting the ritual. She explains that they have been repelling Imperial forces thanks to help from a fated messenger. The figure denies sending any such person, and points out that anyone killing Imperial soldiers is likely an enemy. The figure questions why she would invite a stranger into their base, but decides that if the guest wants the ashes, they should provide some to keep him occupied. While Lin Luo sits back in the cavern watching the mages work, his plan to farm energy seems to be going perfectly. He knows the fallen Imperial soldiers still contain powerful energy that can be converted into ashes to restore his stance, and if he keeps these cultists working, he will soon achieve complete energy independence. However, his satisfaction is cut short. The Lich Bride returns from the shadows, her demeanor changed, and she suddenly confronts him. Lin Luo tries to keep up his act by ordering her back to work, but she leans in close, staring directly into his eyes. She demands to know exactly who he is, and what his true purpose is for infiltrating their sanctuary. Our MC brushes off the accusation of sneaking into the sanctuary, pointing out that the cultists were the ones who invited him inside in the first place. Because this logic holds up, the Lich Bride reconsiders her stance, and introduces herself as the Witch of the Frost Bride from the Witch sect. She then asks for his name, to which he replies that he is the Black Emperor. Although the name means nothing to her, she quickly hides her confusion behind a cunning smile and proposes an alliance since they share a common enemy in the Empire. She offers to provide the ashes of the dead he requires as long as he agrees to accompany her back to the Witch sect. Our hero turns this over in his mind. He notes that the storyline seems to have expanded beyond the typical boss encounter, and he suspects that traveling to the Witch sect could be a trap filled with experts. To test the situation, he demands 20 portions of the ashes as a condition for his cooperation. The Lich Bride reacts with shock, arguing that such a request is impossible as the Empire is closing in and they need the remaining resources to refine the Ice Frost Dragon. Lin Luo remains unimpressed by her excuses, dismissing the threat of the Imperial experts, and ordering the group to prioritize his needs. The Lich Bride claims that a third-level expert is arriving soon, making it impossible to spare any more materials for him. Because he realizes this woman is too sharp to be easily deceived, our guy abruptly shifts his demeanor and pretends to agree to her terms. He tells her he will go to the witch sect, and she smiles, genuinely believing she has successfully manipulated him. However, as soon as the trap is set, he draws his sword and viciously strikes her through the chest. As she screams in agony, he tells her that she should go back to prepare for his arrival first. His summon betrayal triggers a system notification for the flame-devouring wave sword skill, and a prompt confirms that he has killed the Witch of the Frost Bride, earning him over 3 million experience points. The remaining cultists react in horror, identifying him as an assassin and attempting to flee. Lin Luo immediately commands the Black Emperor and Kagaya to eliminate them. While his summons move in, one of the undead mages turns back and traps him in a magical binding called Death Entanglement. The mage sneers, convinced that the hero is finished, but our boy remains completely unfazed. He flexes his muscles and effortlessly shatters the spell with a burst of raw power. The sheer force of the energy sends the mage flying backward, where he lands, coughing up blood, utterly terrified that an assassin possesses such overwhelming strength. The mage struggles to understand why his skills have failed. Suddenly the ground begins to vibrate violently. Lin Luo pauses, sensing that something significant is about to happen. At that moment, the older undead mage stands before the skeletal dragon and pours his own life force into the beast as a medium for a dark ritual. He commands the ice frost dragon to resurrect. The colossal skeletal creature shakes off its chains and rises up, fully animated and menacing. As the mage points toward our hero and orders the creature to attack, Lin Luo stands his ground, staring up at the massive beast looming over the chamber. He realizes the old mage has pushed the ritual too far, waking the beast before it was truly ready. The system immediately projects the dragon's data into the air. It is a level 35 boss with high health and dangerous abilities, including a frost breath that drains the dragon's own life force, a crushing claw strike, and a roar capable of crippling the combat power of those with weak willpower. Despite the monster's intimidating appearance, our boy offers an arrogant smile. He judges that the dragon is not significantly stronger than the monster commander he faced back in the secret realm. He realizes he will secure the valuable boss rewards ahead of schedule, having forced the enemy to wake the beast early. He then shifts his focus to the battle, quickly assigning roles to his team. He orders the Black Emperor to focus exclusively on the dragon while Kagaya handles the mage. The undead mage screams at them to stay back, but it is already too late. The ice frost dragon rears back and unleashes a torrent of freezing breath. The Black Emperor instantly steps between his master and the attack, crossing his arms to form a sturdy barrier. Protected by his summon, our hero draws his sword. He prepares a swift wind sword chi to shatter the dragon's freezing attack. With a burst of speed, he launches himself high into the air, aiming straight for the beast's head. He swings his blade with everything he's got, driving the weapon deep into the dragon's skull. As soon as he lands the hit, he shouts for the Black Emperor to follow up. The giant armored summon dives in, pummeling the dragon's face with a relentless, rapid-fire barrage of punches. The dragon attempts to open its jaws for a counterattack, but our hero is faster. He unleashes a massive, overwhelming wave of flame, combining his most powerful techniques, including the flame-devouring wave sword and the destruction deathlight, into a single strike that crashes down upon the beast. He calls out to his assassin, demanding that she deny the villain any chance to recover. Kagaya moves with incredible speed, appearing directly behind the undead mage and driving her katana through his chest in one clean motion. With the caster eliminated, Lin Luo praises her performance and commands a final, coordinated assault on the dragon. He unleashes another blast of swift wind sword chi, while the Black Emperor and Kagaya hammer the boss with their signature attacks. The combined force of these strikes proves to be too much for the creature. The ice frost dragon collapses, defeated at last. The system announces that our hero has earned over 6 million experience points, boosted by a massive percentage bonus, which successfully pushes him to level 28. Our hero stands over the massive, smoking skull of the boss, finally catching his breath. He admits to himself that the dragon's health bar was exceptionally thick, but the haul makes the effort worth it. He immediately decides to allocate all his new attribute points into agility. Simultaneously, he pours skill points into his 10,000 Swords of the Ancestral Temple skill, leveling it up to 6. This is a huge tactical advantage. It reduces the number of stacks he needs to generate extra energy, and even lets him recall his blades without burning through his mana. He reflects that continuing to invest in this skill will eventually allow him to reach a state of near-infinite attack frequency with minimal effort. As he stands next to the remains of the beast, he searches for his loot, Suddenly a bright blue shimmer appears beneath the dragon's shattered skull. He reaches into the pile and pulls out a magnificent blade. Our hero marvels at the weapon in his hands, shocked that he managed to secure a diamond-grade sword on his first try. The system confirms his find, identifying the legendary weapon as the Heart of Annihilation. This diamond-grade melee weapon offers a significant boost to his attack power, critical rates, and damage, while also allowing his attacks to ignore a portion of the target's physical defense. Our hero studies these attributes with visible excitement, realizing that this gear is likely the most powerful equipment available at his current level. The system also reveals unique skills like Frost Slash and the active Lament ability, which can briefly stop enemy attacks. So Lin Luo feels a surge of satisfaction. He concludes that the increased difficulty of this secret realm, combined with his decision to eliminate both sides of the conflict, directly resulted in these high-level rewards. Once he finishes analyzing the blade, he approaches the skeletal remains of the Ice Frost dragon to claim his loot. He carefully extracts items from the dragon's skull, collecting horns, high-level potions, magic scrolls, and currency. He is particularly pleased with the Ice Frost dragon's horn, an item capable of summoning a level 35 boss. The boss possesses a large health pool and diverse skills, so Lin Luo marks it as an excellent future defensive asset. He then instructs Princess Kaguya and the Black Emperor to handle the refinement of the collected ashes of the dead, urging them to prepare for the hunt for his next target. The scene shifts to a system announcement board where the clear times are displayed. Lu Yu stands before this board and is overwhelmed by frustration upon seeing that the Black Emperor has already cleared the secret realm. He had been looking for a place to farm energy, so Lu Yu views this repeated interference as a direct provocation. He decides that he can no longer afford to delay his confrontation with the Black Emperor and begins to formulate a malicious plan to kill him and claim his resources. In a different location, a man named Guo Tao sits huddled among terrified civilians in a dark, tense room. He is a survivor who awakened the S-rank talent known as Simulate the Future, which allows him to consult a book called The Future Diary. Panicking, he activates his ability to predict how to survive the encroaching threat. His diary displays a grim outcome. The city is sealed by white mist, and a stranger accompanied by a maid-dressed girl will barge into his home to kill him on the fourth day. Guo Tao is left in disbelief, wondering how such a brutal fate could find him in a world that still follows social order. Driven by desperation, he forces the diary to rededuce his survival path. However, every simulation ends in his death. He tries denying his identity, but the girl kills him instantly. He tries fighting back with a kitchen knife, yet that ends just as quickly. Frustrated and terrified, he continues to demand more simulations. He even tries to flee to the magic capital before the mist fully seals the city, but the diary reveals that the intruder can track his location regardless of where he hides. Ultimately, Guo Tao sits in the dark, crying hysterically as his diary shows a final, inescapable conclusion. Even if he throws his door open to welcome them, kneeling and begging for his life, the diary confirms the same outcome. He is already as good as dead. Even with the inspectorate's armed protection, the book predicts that a monster will shatter the hall's glass doors that night, forcing him to jump from the second floor. As the diary reveals, he realizes the insect creatures are under the control of his hunter. While he had hoped to meet his end by the blade of a beautiful girl, he sees that he is destined to die by the fist of a man in black armor. Suddenly the glass windows shatter and giant flying insects swarm into the room, sending the men into a panic. Guo Tao stares out through the broken glass and spots Lin Luo standing on a distant building, observing the scene with the Lord of Wishes. Our boy is surprised to find his final target hunkered down inside the inspectorate. Because the security is so tight, he initially decides to make a wish to force the creature out, but upon spotting the target, he instructs the Lord of Wishes to call off the swarm. He then approaches an alleyway accompanied by the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya. Finding Guo Tao slumped against a wall and bleeding, Guo Tao acknowledges the beauty of the protagonist's stand, and when Lin Luo asks if he knew he was coming, Guo Tao confirms that his talent foresaw the arrival. Our boy finds the ability to foresee events impressive, but Guo Tao considers it a curse. He explains that his talent provides rewards for simulating scenarios but offers no boost to combat power, and since the written outcome of the diary never changes, he feels truly trapped. Exhausted by the constant cycle of failure, Guo Tao gives up. He tells Lin Luo he doesn't even care why he's being hunted, only asking to be finished off by the beautiful girl in the group. Our hero denies this request, ordering the Black Emperor to strike instead to ensure no tricks are played. As the fatal punch connects, Guo Tao realizes that his death by the fist of the man in black armor was truly predetermined. After Guo dies, Lin Luo reaches for the future diary and activates his plunder talent. He chooses to extract the talent effect and examines the system panels that detail his acquisition of the timely simulation talent, which allows him to simulate the future in text form with no cooldown. He summons the new stand, Future Diary, and reviews its stats, noting the energy requirements for looking into the future. He stares at the blank pages of the book, feeling confused until he commands it to simulate the next 2 days. Text immediately begins to manifest on the page, and he is stunned to read his own name in the entry. The diary explains that when Lin Luo sees these words, he is already dead. The entry describes him traveling to the crying grave in the secret realm for a second time, only to encounter a young man who calls himself the contemporary celestial master, Lu Yu. According to the diary, this man attacked without warning, and proved to be so powerful that neither Lin Luo nor the Black Emperor could withstand him, ultimately killing them with a thunderstorm. RMC is left in a state of shock and bewilderment, struggling to comprehend how he could possibly die by the following afternoon. He takes a moment to steady himself, reminding himself that he has already lived through one lifetime and refusing to accept a quiet death in this one. He figures that since talents are designed to assist their hosts, there must be a specific detail he is missing regarding why his own abilities seem so dangerous. He recalls the name Heavenly Lu Yu from his memories, and realizing the gravity of the upcoming confrontation, calls upon the Lord of Wishes to help him analyze the situation. Knowing the Black Emperor alone won't suffice against such a powerful foe, he turns to his future diary to simulate the battle once more. The diary generates a grim sequence. Our hero attempts to go all out with a surprise attack, even though he employs every resource at his disposal, fusing the Black Emperor with Princess Kaguya, coordinating the Succubus Queen's skills, and utilizing the control of the Prayer Master and Green Demon. The simulation still ends in his total defeat. He dies under a barrage of celestial lightning, realizing that the SSS-level talent of his opponent is simply too powerful. When Lin Luo sees this, he is visibly shaken, but the Lord of Wishes explains that the diary normally simulates results based on the standard assumption that a player only has one talent and one stand. Determined to change the outcome, our boy summons the rest of his roster, including the Succubus Queen and the Green Demon, to ensure the diary accounts for his full arsenal. He runs the simulation again, but the result remains unchanged. Despite his 5 stands and 5 talents, he still falls to Lu Yu. Frustrated by the repeated failures, he tests his strength by ordering the Black Emperor to punch him, hoping to trigger his hidden talent. The strike is blocked mid-air by the sudden, forceful manifestation of his SS-level savior stand, who emerges to defend his master from the brute force of the Black Emperor. With the 2 stands beginning to bicker, our hero intervenes and commands the diary to simulate the future one more time. The resulting vision is a disaster, showing all his summons defeated and Lin Luo himself captured by the enemy. Panic sets in as he wonders if he should simply abandon the secret realm and retreat, but he quickly discards the idea, searching instead for a turning point. He asks the Lord of Wishes for tactics to defeat the Celestial Master, and the spirit points him toward the untapped potential of his unborn stand, currently in its egg stage. When Lin Luo consults the diary again with this new perspective, the text finally shifts. It describes him deciding to fight Lu Yu openly rather than relying on a sneak attack. By choosing the correct primary emotion to incubate the egg, his 8th stand finally hatches. Although the diary becomes garbled and hard to read at this stage, it confirms that he wins the battle. While Lu Yu manages to escape, our hero gains a massive, unexpected reward that makes the entire struggle worthwhile. Knowing that he has finally altered his destiny, he feels a surge of excitement as he looks forward to the fight. He asks the Lord of Wishes for a specific method to kill Lu Yu, but the request is too immense for the spirit to handle. The book surges with violent lightning, and the Lord of Wishes is forced to snap it shut to avoid a total energy collapse. Lin Luo realizes the power gap between his current level and an SSS-level opponent remains a massive hurdle. He concludes that he must prepare thoroughly before the clash. For now, he shifts his focus to an immediate priority, heading to the prison to deliver a resurrection crystal to his brother. He intends to help him elevate his talent to S level, ensuring his sibling is ready for the challenges to come. The scene shifts to the prison watchtower. Guards there notice a sudden surge of flying insects returning and immediately open fire. As the creatures swoop down in an aggressive swarm, the guards fear the worst, believing their position is about to be overrun. Suddenly the Black Emperor descends from the sky and delivers a crushing blow that neutralizes the lead monster. Seeing this display of power, nearby police officers realize they have been rescued. Lin Luo steps out from behind the Black Emperor, having arrived at the scene while riding one of the giant insects. He identifies himself to the police as the brother of Dong Xingdong, explaining that he had an appointment to visit. One of the officers directs him toward a secure gate, thanking him for the timely rescue and mentioning that the prison warden has been notified of his arrival and wants to speak with him once the visit concludes. Our boy acknowledges the request and heads toward the prison interior to find the visiting booth. Inside the prison, Dong Xingdong sits behind the glass partition in his striped uniform and greets Lin Luo with a warm smile. Our boy sits down across from him looking serious. The brother expresses deep concern for Lin Luo's safety, asking if he has been injured by the man-eating monsters outside and offering to call for someone to check on him. Our hero reassures his brother that he is fine and tells him not to worry. The brother looks at him with a protective expression, telling Lin Luo not to be afraid if he has been wronged outside and promising to take care of it for him once he is released. As the brother looks away, he seems dejected by the uncertainty of when he will be free. He then recalls a conversation with the prison warden who promised that a reduced sentence was possible if he agreed to his conditions. Regaining his resolve, the brother tells Lin Luo to rest assured as he has figured out a way to get out and promises that in the future, he will make things right for him. Our MC reflects on his brother's selflessness, noting that he never considers himself. He then confidently tells his brother that now, no one can bully him outside and explains that he has brought a gift that might help him get out soon. The brother asks what the gift is, but before he can explain, the Black Emperor suddenly strikes Dong Xingdong from behind, leaving him reeling in complete shock. A guard instantly draws his weapon, fearing an attack, but Lin Luo calmly raises his hands. He reassures the guard that the gift is harmless and will safely vanish the moment it touches his brother's body. Suddenly, the brother is engulfed in roaring red flames, and his A-level talent undergoes a massive surge, upgrading into an S-level ability known as Red Valor. This upgrade grants him significant damage reduction as his health drops. Amidst the fire, a towering stand clad in white and gold armor with a red plume materializes behind him. The entity identifies itself as the Crimson Lotus Knight. The system reveals the knight's immense combat stats and powerful abilities, including a defensive shield and a spear that burns through enemies with ease. Dong Xingdong stares at the knight in utter disbelief, and Lin Luo encourages him to use this newfound power to earn merits and secure a reduced sentence. The brother feels a mix of gratitude and concern, questioning why Lin Luo would give him such a precious upgrade instead of keeping it for himself. Our hero brushes off the worry, assuring him that he has plenty of power to spare. Unknown to them, a security camera in the corner of the room records the entire interaction. The feat is being watched by the prison warden. Sitting in a suit in a separate room, the man watches the footage on his laptop with a sinister, calculating smile, clearly intrigued by the revelation that talent levels can be increased. When the prison officer ends the visit, Lin Luo tells his brother not to worry, promising that he will no longer be bullied. Dong Xingdong turns to leave with the officer, offering a final word of care, while our protagonist tells him to behave so he can secure an early release. A different officer then approaches our guy in the hallway to inform him that Warden Duan wishes to see him. The officer claims the warden has a way to help his brother, and as Lin Luo hears this, he realizes the warden is the one who has finally taken the bait. He enters the warden's office, and Warden Duan Qingfeng invites him to sit. Our hero keeps his composure, wondering why he was summoned, while privately noting that since the highest talent in the prison was only A-level, the warden likely missed the opportunity to upgrade his talent, and is now desperate to acquire the means to do so. The warden asks if Lin Luo knows the truth behind his brother's case. When our hero asks for clarification, he recalls that he always suspected his brother had been framed, but he previously lacked the power to uncover the truth. The warden explains that a 15-year sentence makes no sense, suggesting that Dong Xingdong was merely a tool used by others. Our protagonist asks for the specific details, offering to clear out local monsters to ensure the prison's safety in return. Privately, he vows that he will finally make those responsible pay for framing his brother. Warden Duan laughs and dismisses the offer, noting that the monsters will be dealt with eventually. Instead, he reveals that he watched the surveillance footage and saw the awakening of the brothers stand. Lin Luo immediately recognizes that the warden is fixated on the power to evolve talents. Our hero warns him that the insider information he offers might not be worth the price he is asking, adding that he could eventually uncover the truth on his own. The warden counters by asking what he thinks about reducing his brother's sentence. Lin Luo feigns shock at the offer, while the warden smiles slyly and states that everything is negotiable, so long as the protagonist hands over the secret to talent evolution. Our guy agrees to discuss the matter, but presses the warden to first explain the details behind the original case. The warden reveals that his brother was framed by the Wong group. Lin Luo recognizes the name as a major corporate giant in Hang City. He questions why the warden kept his brother locked up if he knew he was framed, challenging him on the police's duty to uphold justice. Warden Duan maintains a serious demeanor, explaining that society operates on legal evidence, and since all the initial evidence pointed to Dong Xingdong, the sentence had to be enforced. He claims he only discovered the Wong group's involvement much later. Privately, our hero reflects that the original judgment was suspiciously quick and severe, clearly the result of someone suppressing the truth. The warden stands up and places a hand on Lin Luo's shoulder, offering a warning. He tells our protagonist not to seek revenge, even with their newfound S-level talents, because the Wong group is too powerful to confront. He ends by urging Lin Luo to make the smart choice, and seize the opportunity to reduce his brother's sentence before it's too late. Our guy agrees with Duan, conceding that they are too insignificant to challenge the Wong group. As he turns to leave, he tells the warden that he does not have the Ascension Crystal on him, explaining that he needs to return to retrieve the item. Duan is clearly delighted by this news, smiling broadly and urging him to hurry back with the crystal. Beneath his calm exterior, our protagonist harbors a menacing intent, thinking that the warden is foolishly seeking death by coveting something that belongs to him. Later, a guard reports to Warden Duan that the defenses against the insect-like monsters are secure and offers to escort him to a safe location. Duan declines, preferring to stay in his office. Once the guard leaves, the warden sits alone with a scheming grin, reveling in the knowledge that the item capable of upgrading talents is called an Ascension Crystal. He confidently lights a cigar, already imagining that this resource will allow his son to awaken a stand. While the warden is distracted by his arrogance, Lin Luo observes him from the shadows, wondering how a man tasked with upholding justice can be so corrupt. Duan continues to justify his behavior, arrogantly exhaling smoke as he claims that bowing to those of higher rank is a comfortable way to live and not a source of shame. Suddenly the massive Black Emperor materializes behind him, reaching out to pluck the cigar straight from his mouth. As the warden wheels around in shock, our boy reveals his presence from the window. The warden asks if he has returned with the Ascension Crystal, and Lin Luo confirms he has brought it for him. The Black Emperor immediately seizes Duan by the throat, and our hero declares his true purpose is to end the warden's life. The armored summon violently throws him against the wall, shattering the plaster. As the warden slumps to the floor, coughing and screaming for help, Lin Luo calmly states that no one will hear him in this room. He commands the Lord of Wishes to use his power so that the warden can only speak the truth. When the warden demands to know why he is being attacked after sharing information about the brother, our guy strikes him across the face, calling out his attempt to profit from the situation. As he stomps on the warden's wrist, Lin Luo demands to know who in the Wong group framed his brother, and for what reason. Unable to fight the magical compulsion, Duan gasps out the name, Wang Hengjie, the second young master of the Wong group. He confesses that the group stole museum artifacts and sold them to the Empire of the Rising Sun, framing the brother to cover their tracks. He adds that when the brother continued to appeal, they offered him a bribe to take the blame. Lin Luo watches coldly as the Black Emperor strikes the warden again, shattering his resistance and forcing the truth out of him. The man admits that he personally embezzled 400,000, and feared the brother would speak out, so he ensured the situation remained suppressed. Lin Luo then questions where the warden has hidden his illegal wealth. The warden suddenly screams in defiance, criticizing the protagonist for his arrogance and warning that he and his brother will eventually die. Lin Luo simply calls upon the Lord of Wishes to act. Under the unbearable pain and the magical compulsion, the warden cries out his secret, revealing 94 million in cash stored in a basement compartment at the Wuling 1 community, along with 493 Fate Roulette single-draw tickets. Before he can finish his defiance, a swift, decisive slash to the back leaves him sprawled on the floor, gravely injured and helpless. Lin Luo stands triumphantly over the shivering man, holding his weapon and the stack of golden tickets, satisfied that he has finally secured the spoils of his vengeance. Warden Duan Qingfeng lies battered on the floor, hurling threats and challenging our guy to finish him off. Lin Luo refuses to be baited. Instead, he plants his foot firmly on the warden's face, looking down with cold disgust. He reminds Duan that his stolen money and those golden fate tickets were earned by squeezing the life out of innocent prisoners, proving the warden is the true expert at breaking the law. Suddenly, a swarm of monstrous bugs crashes through the office window, filling the air with chaos. Our boy stands tall, wearing a sinister smile. He tells Duan that he won't kill him here, but notes that life is full of surprises. After departing the room, Lin Luo commands the Lord of Wishes to ensure the invading insects prioritize cleaning up this specific area. The hooded spirit bows and dutifully agrees to obey his master. As the bugs swarm toward him, Duan stares up in absolute terror, screaming that Lin Luo will not die so easily. Outside, the prison grounds have turned into a chaotic battlefield. Guards desperately trade fire with the bugs, but their defense is failing, and one guard is already impaled by a green beam. Lieutenant Lien Fan, clearly pushed to his limit, orders his men to pull back toward the second floor while continuing to fire. Dong Xingdong suddenly steps into the fray. The lieutenant, visibly stunned, demands to know how he escaped his cell. The boy explains that the prison is collapsing, and he reveals that he has just awakened an S-class stand. The lieutenant immediately agrees to the assistance, promising to report this as a major achievement if he can help save lives. Dong Xingdong summons his stand, the Crimson Lotus Knight, an armored warrior with a large shield. Just as the knight appears, a monstrous bug lunges at Dong Xingdong from behind. The lieutenant shouts a warning, but the Crimson Lotus Knight instantly blocks the attack with its shield. Dong Xingdong feels a surge of determination and orders the knight to annihilate the swarm. The knight strikes back with a massive punch and sword slash, obliterating the bug. The lieutenant watches in awe, questioning if an S-class stand is truly more powerful than a gun. Lin Luo appears on the scene with his own summons. The Black Emperor asks if he should step in to help his brother, but our MC tells him to hold back. He remembers that Sergeant Lien Fan once stood up for his brother, noting that he is a good man and that with him nearby, his brother's efforts will not go to waste. But just as he settles into this moment of clarity, Lin Luo's eyes suddenly widen as a mysterious, unseen voice echoes through the area. A man named Gao Qi declares that he is finally free and encourages the monsters to cause as much chaos as possible to help him escape. Our boy stands amidst the ruins and wonders how someone can speak while remaining completely invisible. He asks the Lord of Wishes for intelligence on this hidden party. The spirit explains that Gao Qi is an S-class prodigy who was sentenced to life imprisonment before his talent even awakened. Lin Luo laughs, realizing he has found an invisible enthusiast. He commands the Lord of Wishes to reveal the enemy. The spirit uses his magical energy to disrupt the cloaking effect, instantly revealing a shocked white-haired man in a blue prison shirt. Gao Qi wonders why his talent has suddenly stopped working, and Lin Luo walks toward him, coolly asking if he wants to break free. The prisoner demands to know who he is and how he shattered his invisibility. Angered, Gao Qi refuses to be intimidated and launches a desperate attack, hurling sharp spikes toward our hero while shouting out his Vine of Purple Shadows technique. Lin Luo stands completely unfazed, wearing a confident smile. He thinks that luck is on his side, marveling that even among the criminals here, there are talents that go beyond S-class. Lin Luo easily avoids the attack from Gao Qi and questions how he managed to hide his true talent level from the prison authorities. Gao Qi tries to dodge the question, but he is internally panicked, wondering how his secret was discovered when he had always kept his ability at a low-level facade. While our protagonist considers how valuable an invisibility talent would be for his own tactical use, Gao Qi suspects that Lin Luo possesses some kind of advanced perception ability. Desperate to get away, the prisoner decides he cannot afford any more delays and launches a barrage of purple shadow vines at his hunter. The Black Emperor quickly moves in front of our hero to shield him, while Gao Qi uses his technique to scale the high prison wall. As he climbs, he revels in his belief that he is about to secure his freedom. He thinks to himself that his talent, known as Hermit, conceals both his body and his scent, making him impossible to track even for the most sensitive sensors. However, just as he reaches the top of a wall, Princess Kaguya appears behind him and delivers a lethal slash to his back. Gao Qi is shocked, wondering how his opponent could have summoned yet another powerful substitute. As Gao Qi's body hits the ground, our boy steps forward and activates his plunder talent to harvest the fallen man's abilities. The system confirms the successful theft, granting him the S-rank Hermit talent. This new power allows him to enter a state of total invisibility, including the masking of his body odor, for up to 1 hour. Our hero notes the limitations of this ability, specifically that attacking breaks the stealth state, but he still believes it will be a game-changer for his upcoming confrontation with Lu Yu. Lin Luo then takes a moment to examine the purple shadow vine stand he also acquired from the fight. He is impressed by the stand's versatility, noting that its ability to create multiple vines on the ground compensates for the weaknesses of an invisibility-based fighting style. During this analysis, he notices an update to his own plunder talent panel. The system indicates his skill has matured, capping his plundering capacity at 9 high-level talents and stands. Feeling confident that he has found a way to bridge the power gap, he begins preparing for his next steps. He heads to a snowy region known as the Wolf's Valley to continue his training. After taking out a pack of large white wolves, he holds up a golden card with a satisfied expression. In the hundreds of tickets he confiscated from the corrupt warden and the additional rewards he earned, he has successfully gathered 500 draws. Thanks to the energy reserves from his previous battles, he finally has enough resources to push his plunder skill from S rank to SS rank. Lin Luo then stands before a blue magic circle and calls upon the Lord of Wishes to manifest. He focuses his intent and makes a grand wish, tasking the spirit to ensure that his next 500 draws yield enough Spirit Ascension crystals to elevate the Black Emperor to SS level. He also places a strict limitation on the wish to maximize his luck, explicitly forbidding the appearance of any longevity pills. The Lord of Wishes manifests, pledging his absolute loyalty to fulfill the Master's request. As the ritual begins, our protagonist stands calmly, watching the magic circle expand and waiting to see his power evolve. He knows that having enough Spirit Ascension crystals is the key to achieving a massive, game-changing boost for his abilities. A system prompt materializes in the air, confirming his success. He has acquired an SS-grade Sparkling Diamond Ascension crystal, a gold tier version, and 3 purple S-grade crystals. These are the keys to unlocking a massive leap in his combat potential. Lin Luo notes with satisfaction that he has managed to gather 51 S-class or higher crystals, a haul that exceeds his expectations. He decides to prioritize upgrading his own talent and the Black Emperor. As the Black Emperor accepts the crystal, a flash of blinding light erupts. The system updates the plunder talent to the SS rank. While the core effect remains consistent, the previous restrictions have vanished and the number of skill and talent effects he can plunder has increased. Lin Luo realizes that as long as he continues to use this power, even SS rank talents will be within his reach to crush. The Black Emperor, now enveloped in a blazing aura, flexes its newfound strength, expressing its gratitude and willingness to serve its master. A detailed status panel reveals that the Black Emperor has seen a substantial boost across all attributes. Beyond the raw stat increase, it gains the Overload Existence trait, requiring constant energy to manifest, and 2 powerful new skills, the Fist of Aggression and the Flames of the Black Emperor. Lin Luo acknowledges that while future upgrades will be costly, his plunder talent provides the perfect shortcut for rapid growth. He then turns his attention to the Lord of Wishes. After absorbing the energy from a crystal, the spirit evolves, surging in energy. His new stats show a massive increase in intelligence and luck, while the Book of Wishes now unlocks 3 versatile combat modes: the Wish of 100 Battles for combat prowess and experience gain, the Wish of Iron Wall for defense and evasion, and the ability to nullify attacks. Lin Luo reflects on how these upgrades, combined with his new Diamond Tier sword, the Heart of Annihilation, will push his critical hit rate to nearly 50%. The Lord of Wishes bows in reverence, thanking his master for this new life. Lin Luo next calls upon Princess Kaguya, who appears behind him amidst a flurry of ethereal pink cherry blossoms. Her status panel reveals a formidable combat-oriented form. Despite her delicate appearance, her data confirms she is a pure combat-type stand with immense strength and agility. Her Rainy Night talent has evolved to SS rank, granting her the ability to control weather and significantly increase her attack speed in the rain. She also gains the Beauty Under the Moon skill, which weakens enemies and deals massive damage once the effect shatters. With the distribution of the remaining crystals handled by the Lord of Wishes, Lin Luo calculates that his current combat power is now equivalent to 7 SS level stands. He realizes that while he can handle most SSS-ranked Awakeners when they are off guard, the Liu he saw in his future diary is different. He knows he cannot give this opponent a single chance to unleash his full power. The Fist of Invasion is his only path to victory. The scene shifts to a mountain range under the night sky, where Liu, the self-proclaimed Heavenly Master, sits. He contemplates the current chaotic state of the world and his own destiny to rise and restore order. With a talisman stuck to his forehead, he believes that the Dark Emperor will inevitably return to this location to replenish his strength. He plans to slay him and establish his own domain. Suddenly, Liu's eyes widen in alarm as he senses an intrusion. Lin Luo appears. He asks the Heavenly Master if he saw his own defeat coming, coolly noting that those reflexes are impressive, even if the surprise caught him off guard. Liu demands to know why Lin Luo is attacking him, but our protagonist bluntly states he is there to finish him off. Liu scoffs at the idea, mocking the young man for relying on a simple stand-in. Princess Kaguya suddenly appears in midair behind Liu to strike, but she is interrupted when a massive projection of an old warrior, the Heavenly Sovereign, manifests to defend him. The divine warrior swings his weapon with authority, warning the intruder to stop causing trouble, and violently knocks Princess Kaguya backward. Confident with his towering defender, Liu asks who sent the boy to kill him. Our MC briefly looks surprised, but he remains composed, realizing that a surprise attack is ineffective against such a strong summon. Panting and sweating, our hero braces himself as Liu observes him, realizing with internal concern that his opponent has revealed 3 distinct stands. Lin Luo stands his ground, fully committed, and summons the Black Emperor, the Lord of Wishes, and Princess Kaguya to manifest behind him. He challenges Liu to use his full power, warning him that he intends to kill him this very day. Liu realizes the Black Emperor must have been reborn and is preemptively attacking to change his fate, but he quickly discards the thought as irrelevant. Instead, he grows arrogant and declares that the Celestial Master fears no one. The Black Emperor prepares to attack, and while Liu notices Princess Kaguya launching a pincer maneuver from the opposite side, he seems momentarily caught off guard. Liu responds by forming a hand seal, calling upon the Goddess of Mercy while energy surges around his hands to summon a bolt that strikes near the maid. Suddenly, a massive shadowy hand emerges from a cloud of smoke, forcing Lin Luo to shield his face from the powerful gusts of wind. Staring at the manifestation with wide eyes, our protagonist can only wonder in shock if he is finally witnessing the true power of an SSS-level summon. A massive bearded warrior called Dangma Tianzuan erupts into existence, pulsing with divine energy. As Liu commands the giant to eliminate the thief, Lin Luo holds his ground while the Black Emperor and Princess Kaguya form a defensive shield to protect their master. The Black Emperor lunges upward to meet the giant with a powerful punch, but Dangma Tianzuan easily blocks the attack with his massive hand, dismissing the strike as a minor nuisance meant to be swept away. Princess Kaguya attempts to land a follow-up attack, yet she finds herself struggling to break through the giant's defenses. Watching the clash, our protagonist is visibly surprised. He notes that without even resorting to special skills, this entity is capable of going toe-to-toe with 2 of his own SSS-level stands. Though the giant's speed is undeniable, it fights with a raw, physical intensity that sets it apart from the divine projection he anticipated. He reflects on the information from his future diary. He correctly deduces that the Celestial Master possesses 3 stands in total, 2 combat types and likely 1 support type, making Liu far more formidable than a standard SS-level awakener. Our boy silently calculates that the man is forced to use 2/3 of his strength just to manage this fight, which he views as a pathetic ant trying to challenge a mighty tree. Arrogantly, Liu commands Dangma Tianzuan to return to his side. Lin Luo questions why the Celestial Master would hesitate and stop the fight, but Liu only laughs, mocking the Black Emperor by claiming he isn't afraid, even if his opponent is a fellow traveler from the future. This catches our hero off guard. The realization that Liu knows about his rebirth hits him like a physical blow. He wonders if there is truly a Taoist method for divination, but more importantly, he realizes he isn't the only one who has returned in time. This creates a new urgent priority. Beyond surviving this duel, our guy realizes he must investigate this matter and keep the secret of his rebirth hidden. Ignoring the confusion, Liu holds up 2 fingers, surrounded by a fierce aura, and prepares to end the stalemate. He calls out the name Yang Jian, and as flames surge in the air, a new warrior emerges. The flames dissipate to reveal a figure with spiky brown hair, a third eye marked on his forehead, and regal white and gold armor. The legendary Yang Jian stands ready, following Liu's command. Recognizing the famous figure, Lin Luo remains wary. Liu gloats, noting that he only used Dangmo Tianzun to match 2 of our hero's stands, and asks what will happen now that Yang Jian has arrived. He taunts our hero, suggesting he still has time to kneel and beg for mercy. In a bizarre move, our hero pulls out a black handgun. Liu erupts in manic laughter, mocking him for using such a primitive weapon in this era. Ignoring the ridicule, our guy points the barrel directly at his own temple. Liu is momentarily taken aback, defensively raising a hand and asking if he really needs to resort to suicide. He even offers to let our protagonist become his lackey if he just drops the weapon. But Lin Luo, sporting a look of dark, confident resolve, interrupts him, clarifying that he has no intention of ending his own life. With a steady hand, he turns the gun toward his temple and pulls the trigger. A bright muzzle flash erupts as the bullet streaks toward his own head. But rather than a fatal wound, the gunshot serves as a catalyst. He is instantly engulfed in roaring blue flames. He calls for his guardian deity, and the savior manifests, deftly snapping the bullet between his fingers before it can strike. Towering behind our hero in a formal suit and mask, the entity stands ready. He waits for his master's command. Luyu finds the summoning method fascinating, noting that since our hero has revealed 4 stands, he must naturally match that number with his own. Lin Luo returns the look with a calm, challenging face, determined not to fall behind. Luyu calls upon Yang Jian, the legendary golden armored warrior, and commands him to cleanse the realm. Below them, Dang Mo Tianzun also joins the fray, aggressively ordering the demons to be slain. In response, Lin Luo points forward, flanked by the Black Emperor, Princess Kaguya, and the Savior, and orders his team to drive back the small fry and capture Luyu. The Black Emperor lunges toward Dang Mo Tianzun, eager to take on the giant, while Kaguya suggests a strategic split. She decides to deal with one opponent while the Savior takes on the other. Savior, however, tells her to focus on the iron-armored warrior and leaves him to handle the new threat alone. Yang Jian's third eye emits a piercing beam as he looks down at the Savior, dismissing him as a mere ant that dares to confront a deity. The Savior remains unmoved, standing calmly within a square barrier with his wings spread wide. Yang Jian calls his stance a petty trick and leaps down aggressively, his polearm shattering the barrier with ease. As the attack connects, Yang Jian finds himself suddenly surrounded by a massive, blinding explosion. The Savior stands with his arms raised, triggering a violent series of blasts that erupt around him. Yang Jian is thrown backward, frustrated and gripping his weapon tightly as he realizes he has been caught in the Savior's New World technique. Luyu, seeing his summon pushed back, extends his hand and calls upon the goddess Guanyin to intervene. A serene figure in white robes appears, sitting on a pink lotus flower and holding a jade vase. Green droplets fall from the vase onto Yang Jian, instantly healing the damage caused by the explosion. Lin Luo watches this from a distance, analyzing the situation. He knows that pushing Luyu too hard will only trigger a desperate counterattack. To conserve his energy, he orders his 3 stands to retreat. Luyu mocks him for the withdrawal, assuming fear, and prepares to launch a full-scale assault. He calls for all his summons, including the Heavenly Sovereign, to blast them away. Lin Luo, however, remains calm. He extends his hand, surrounded with dark red and black energy. Everything is going exactly according to the future diary. The perfect moment has arrived. He activates his perfect fusion talent. The Black Emperor, Princess Kaguya, and the Savior surge with synchronized auras. Our boy calls out to unleash his most powerful weapon, the Trinity Ultimate Form, forcing his 3 stands to combine into one singular potent entity. A system reveals that the Trinity Form is an SS++ level stand with combat stats that rival those of an SSS level power. Lin Luo stares with wide eyes, realizing just how massive his upgrade truly is. Before them, Luyu stands ready with his own legendary summons. As the Trinity Form lunges forward to attack, the Heavenly Sovereign remains calm. He scoffs at his opponent's audacity, and swings his weapon to execute a shattered boundary slash. To everyone's surprise, the Trinity Form shatters the divine weapon with a single strike. The massive Dingma Tianzuan steps in to block the advance, ordering the attacker to stop. Our hero's fused stand glares back, vowing that anyone blocking her path will die. She unleashes a rapid sweeping attack called the Blade of Plunder. Both Dingma Tianzuan and Yang Jian look startled by the sheer speed of the strike, struggling to react in time. Luyu reaches into his robe and pulls out a golden rectangular token. He mocks our protagonist, admitting he is an impressive opponent, but ultimately naive if he thinks such tricks can lead to victory. He holds the token high and begins an incantation to reveal the centuries-old heritage of his Tianshi lineage. As the token glows, it projects the history of his lineage. It shows the 56th generation leader fighting ghosts, the sacrifices made in darker times, and the final command from his master to prepare for a new, unprecedented era. Luyu bows to the spirit of his master, vowing to honor the Tianshi legacy. In the present, he shouts his invocation, calling upon his ancestors to appear. Soon the 12 figures materialize behind him. Lin Luo watches in shock as these divine projections appear, each one possessing the combat strength of an S-level stand. He realizes that Luyu has turned an ancient, honorable teaching into a terrifying cult force. Luyu understands now that his own stands are outmatched, and that he cannot defeat his opponent with his current resources. The Trinity Form leaps forward to attack, unleashing an abyssal blossom strike. A divine projection calmly counters, and casts a golden light lock god curse. Golden chains erupt from the projection toward the fused stand, accompanied by a Tianzun Majesty attack. The chains swiftly wrap around the Trinity Form's limbs, and a golden bell begins to form over her, binding her tightly despite her desperate struggle to break free. Luyu smiles arrogantly and declares that our hero has lost. He offers him a chance to survive if he is willing to kneel and kowtow as his underling. Privately, he plans to subdue the Black Emperor, then hunt down Utaiji, aiming to bring everyone who traveled back from the future under his command to solidify the rise of the Tianshi teaching. Lin Luo looks back and acknowledges that the Tianshi teaching is indeed formidable. However, he tells his opponent that the order in his hand makes it all in vain, and he vows that this centuries-old heritage will end today. Luyu looks taken aback by the bold statement. Our hero holds up his hand as a mysterious egg materializes in his palm. He commands the activation of his emotion detonator talent. He watches intensely as the egg begins to pulse with a rhythmic, thudding heartbeat. Our guy knows this is his only remaining chance to turn the tide. Lin Luo cradles the mysterious egg, his focus intense as he realizes that this choice is a high-stakes gamble where the wrong path could lead to his own ruin. He needs to resolve the current crisis, so he decides to tap into the emotions of the millions of people within his reach. As he reaches out with his sensing ability, he feels a flood of raw human experience: despair, fear, anxiety, and frantic cries for help. Initially, he struggles as these heavy negative emotions do not feel right for what he needs. Just then, his sensing reveals a shift in the city. He witnesses a vision where a conference room filled with officials is transformed by a video brought in by reporter Yao. The officials see the footage of the Black Emperor battling the Wormhole Guardian and realize the monsters are not invincible. This realization empowers them to broadcast the video citywide to boost morale. As a result, soldiers across the city see the footage and feel a surge of duty and unity. They prepare to launch an operation to enter the urban area and rescue trapped civilians, inspiring the people to trust in their country and government. Seeing this, our protagonist realizes the future diary was right all along. He decides to incubate his new stand using the collective hope and prayers of the city's millions. He discovers that she is an SS-level stand capable of removing energy costs for his other companions while boosting their power. She can also provide feathers that allow mortals to heal themselves and communicate through prayer to borrow her strength. Most impressively, her Hope Blossom ability allows her to temporarily grant living beings the power to realize their own deepest hopes. Back on the battlefield, Liu commands his 12 ancestor divine projections to eliminate the evil he perceives. Despite the threat, our hero stands tall, smiling with supreme confidence. He mocks the celestial master, arguing that no matter how ancient or powerful his Taoist lineage is, it cannot compare to the collective hope of millions. He thrusts his hand forward to order an attack. He activates the Endless Vitality and Hope Blossom abilities, flooding the battlefield with golden power. Kaguya, currently in her combined Trinity form and trapped by the Golden Light Lock God curse, is suddenly enveloped in this golden energy. The Hope Angel's blessing makes her feel her power surging. With a violent exertion of her enhanced strength, she shatters the golden chains and prepares to retaliate. Luyu reacts by commanding the divine projection of Guanyin to unleash a massive, crashing wave of blue liquid energy toward her. Kaguya stands her ground and swings her red katana, generating a massive energy shield known as the Black Flame Barrier. The crashing blue wave hits her shield and shatters completely against the solid red wall. Luyu scoffs at the defense, believing it is merely a barrier, but the smoke clears to reveal that his target has vanished. He looks around in confusion, wondering where she went. In that split second, Kaguya materializes behind him at blinding speed. She raises her blade high to deliver a devastating downward attack, mocking Liu for his lack of awareness as she prepares to execute her realm-shattering strike.